And we're going to wait till the little light. Hi, Nick Tuckert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Doesn't look like anybody's here yet, but I'm going to start with the opening announcements. This is week 9 of my ongoing broadcast, and I realized I forgot to shut my door, so I'll be gone for a second. Well, we didn't have anybody here to see that, so only the people in the rewind and the people who get on will catch that there was an error at all. I'm going to be, we don't have anyone showing up, but if you are here, please say hi so I know you're here. We're having some problems. Let's see. Okay. Hi. Well, folks, we've got a big video today. I want to give it, because it's the stroke of 8, I want to give people a few minutes to rattle on in. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to subscribe. And be sure to share everything you're doing so that I can do it. We got two viewers. Awesome. Today, this is going to be a little different. We're still working our way through The Simple Sword by Nicholas Tucker, my weekly shameless plug to get you to buy my book or at least read it free. And that was enough to drop a viewer. Well, folks, it's nice to know my sales tactics still work. What I'm doing, as always, I'm checking my Facebook Messenger off to the side to see who's actually here. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to keep talking in case this gets buffered while we try. We're fighting the good fight with the glories of the internet. I'm going to give it about 5 minutes, 10 at the most, to see if it's going to rattle and work. If it doesn't, I will be moving to the Historical Fencing Guild Facebook group, and I'm going to try to go live there through my phone if I have to. But we're all fighting the good fight, and they are redoing my internet. I do have some announcements today, and I'm hoping somebody sticks around because I have frustrations, I have upgrades, and I have a surprise for y'all. So please stick around. And again, thanks for whoever is watching. We're trying to keep things. Nope. Looks like everybody's internet is glitching. So 3 minutes of error. I'm going to keep on going for a minute. This week, I'm moving from fighting against double dagger. I'm sorry. We were in double rapier. We're going to skip cloak because cloak needs a little bit more prep than what I can do. And we are going to get right up against fighting. We're going to talk about two-handed weapons, weapon evolution. I'm just watching that ticker come in and out, but I've got a green light, so I'm going to keep right on talking until such time as it proves that nobody, I know no one else is on. I am, like I said, trying to write a message. Oh, this is a problem. Anyway, what we got here, we're going to talk about a key bit of we're going to talk about the evolution of weaponry. We're going to talk about how swords and daggers became from a sort of basic tech tree. I think that's exciting. We're going to talk about fighting non-rapier weapons. This means what you're going to do as a rapierist or one-handed swordsman versus people like spearmen. We're going to talk about that if I can get anybody in. And like I said, I have one dedicated viewer, so as long as I've got one viewer, I will keep prattling on. To my viewer, please say something in the comments so I know who or what I am talking to, because you never know these days with the internet. And to the NSA, hey guys, don't freak out about the camouflage. I just like the shirt. But this week, I'm sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained. I'm excited about an upcoming project. I'm excited about a misstep And I might as well get into that. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned I was doing a small sword. And I'll be repeating this probably on the thing because we're 5 minutes in and I only have one viewer and the net is starting to get dodgy. All right, folks. Oh, I got you. You just, the second person just saved the video. So please, like, we'll call this new sword, mark half, mark 0.5. Because, and that's my hand being spastic, yay. I have a little catch over here that works. Yay. This little dude is my new training small sword I'm working on. And I wanted to have a pretty guard, so I'm going to show you the guard. Isn't that pretty? The rest of the riggings themselves are from things I had laying around, although this is a blue gauntlet pommel, because while I can make pommels, right now, I'm going to drop everything. Right now, it's a little more difficult to do so as I had a flood in my garage and it damaged a lot of my tools. It caused some problems and I'm still recovering because I'm really allergic to mold. So I have to be careful how I handle things in the garage right now. But what I put together is this nice little, very light, very patriotic tipped weapon. The blade is from Blue Gauntlet, believe it or not. They are a Olympic style fencing supplier. They're American, and I do have some beefs. And I'm gonna probably, like I said, if I take this, I get to 10 minutes, and I'm not getting any more viewership, I will drop this video and go to the historical fencing guilds group and go that because I don't know if my internet is working. That's why I really need somebody to comment so I know I'm not just talking in the wind. But I have some beefs. This was supposed to be a size 0. I wanted a child size to rig for a very special project that I'm trying to do. And they sent me to size 5 standards. Now, getting returns are pretty much impossible these days, and I can't really get a hold of them thanks to the virus. So I'm going to put these to work, and then I'll just try again and see if the order was a problem in ordering, if something went boink, and we're going to go from there. But this is an old Zen Warrior triplet rig hilt, about a 6-inch. I'm sorry, this is about 5-inch hilt. The nice thing about the pommels are they're actually nut style. Let me see if I can get that. And why I like this for lighter applications is because we can actually, without taking it apart, you can shoot WD-40 up there and lubricate the rig without having to constantly take it apart on the field. Now, as I said, it's a 1911 model. Let me see if I can get the lettering to show. There we go. 1911, size 5. But that being said, and there is, I believe I saw an S curve in the blade. Yes, there is an S curve in the blade. It's minor, and I'm going to see if I can get to show up. Let me see, because I got to get the angle. There it is. Slight right in here is an S curve. Oops. It's very, very subtle. And I think with the training of the blade, because any spring blade gets trained, okay, that means it's going to eventually take a bit of a C curve from flexing one direction. You want that in a fencing weapon. Now, as this trains out, it should, let me see, yeah, it should take that curve out. But if this were a Schlager, I would bounce it as a martial. I'm not a martial, I'm not an MIT, but the old habits still float on inspection. So it'll be interesting to see how this performs. That being said, this is surprisingly stiffer in the way it handles. It doesn't quite have the flexy whip that I've found in other lesser blades, so I'm impressed with that. And the balance point with the current rig is one hand's width out from the guard. So as a small sword to a rapier, this is going to feel not as tippy as I expected, even with this. I may, as I add a more elaborate guard, the weight balance, just because it's going to pull it farther back a couple notches. And that's to be expected. Personally, I like a blade usually where the balance point is at the tang, where the tang meets the blade. That to me gives the most feedback. Now, this in the land of impoverished swordmasters, Nick, you've got a fancy kind of brass guard on there. This was purchased at my favorite fencing supply store many years ago, Menards. This is a knob, a backer. So if you're putting a fancy pull knob on a cabinet or a chest of drawers, and you want that ornate, you get one of these. It cost me, I want to say, $1.50. Now, this is not the strongest metal. It's not actually brass. It's too cheap for that. And yes, the ceiling fan is on because it gets very warm in here. But it does. So what I did is I put my usual traditional, let me get an angle where you see, a fender washer. And not a particularly big one because this is what I had. I would, if I had a much larger one, I would either dish it myself to make a foil guard, or just use it flat. But I think it gives it a decent. It gives it support, gives it a decent look from the front. I think this is going to be a very, very serviceable little weapon for training people who either can't take hard impacts, can't handle weight, or have some other disability. Also, this is going to be much more in tune with the foil as being a tie-in to small swords. If this keeps working, I may order others to make my dream project. Thank you for the like. Whoever liked this, please like it. And it does look like it's running, so share this. Share this everywhere, please, because I want people to know that they can come ask your questions. I'm sort of taking today in part to talk about this little project, in getting ready for what's coming. We're starting to get people in. And what I want is, I'm sorry, I'm getting messages. How much did the whole rig cost? Well, that's a good question. The blade was about $14. The pommel is a $3 pommel. That's why I had to buy it, folks, because it was cheaper than it was worth the amount of time it would take me to get a chunk of metal, drill the chunk of metal out. Since you asked, so thank you, Steve Clausen. Steve has ties to the Ren Contessa, who are and is part of the team responsible for keeping me afloat. So I appreciate that. I'm trying to get. I'm getting more flack, but that has nothing to do with this. Yes, you could put two hands. Steve should be laughing to see me be able to two-hand this. But this is a very nice danger noodle. So, if as this progresses, I intend to make a dedicated pommel. I'm coming to a decision, and I'd like some feedback, and anybody watching this can weigh in. I saw a deal on electric scoring daggers. They were a demo set. It was something I was interested in because there's a new group, or relatively new group, just a little, who are trying to use two weapon fighting in a more Olympic style to maybe bring fencing and that style of fencing to a safe product. And I saw those. And I'm torn because I could buy a low-end welder for the cost of those daggers. And if I could get a welder and get my goofy forge set up, I can pretty much make some really nice either live steel, or I can buy, because my idea is if I buy blades, make custom riggings and make some really nice things, because the tip still needs to be retaped on this. I had some issues this week, but so expect this to look very similar. This is obviously not a new design. But oh, the link, the score, they're on eBay. Just punch in. Uh, the daggers are on eBay, and there's like one set floating of demo. They might not still be there, but just look up electric scoring fencing daggers. And there's a brace of those that were used to demo them. I don't even know if they're still produced, but like I said, and like a basic 110 welder is $80. So I could spend $80 on two specialized that I don't have the scoring equipment for, or I could spend $80 on a simple welder that I could then take bar stock, make the riggings, and start making some quality improvised fencing equipment. But I'm really pleased the net is holding. It hasn't held all week to much chagrin on my other projects. But yeah, so this is what I'm working on right now. When I get more funds, I'm going to do a reorder to get the shorter ones so I can review them, because I think some of my shorter fencers and some of my weaker grip fencers would really benefit from having access to smaller weapons. Now, I'm just watching my viewer count. Zach, wait, I'm not gone. Book just fell over while I was flailing. What I wanted to get into this week. Oh, I have one other project. There is another project coming down the line, nearly perfectly opposite. For a while, I've been looking for something I used to carry, and then I found it, and then I lost it. And here's what I want to work on for next week. This is the little hatchet that James Patterson. Go! I've been a librarian too long. James Robertson gave me, and I think I'm going to have to redo the sheath a little bit. But this is a little backpacking hatchet. It throws like it was made to be thrown. And Steve, you're going to laugh because this little tiny thing fits my hand quite nicely. So in the near future, a cheap, and I may just send my wife to get another one, a cheap cutting board is going to die. And out of that will come a training version of this little guy. Now, for people who want this is a Timberwolf, I think it's 384. Look. Yeah, 384. And this is a very practical tool, very lightweight. This is the kind of hatchet you can literally use like a neck knife. So cute, isn't it just? Well, maybe your daughters can, we can make some trainers for them, Steve. I know several people who this would be good. But I believe firmly, he said, gesturing with an axe like a lunatic, I believe firmly in training, at least some extent, with what you carry. And for when I used to hike pretty much daily across the street, there I grew up across from a national forest, and we also had woods out back. And I would carry one of these because having a hatchet was always more handy than not. So I'm thinking, or something like this. This one's a little different, but I carried this for a couple of years actually. Hence the wear and tear on the sheath. I'm thinking of making some trainers for that close-in bind. I also know that this will transfer to, at least I think, Steve, I'd love your view on this, to Salat. I think this would transfer very well to I'm sorry, I'm getting history. Fishing out. Thank you. Okay. And I typoed my own thing. Gal, it's one of those weeks. Anyway, this bad boy was regular, so I want to make a trainer of this. I also know we've got a couple members who like this guy. So this is in the work in creation. I need to know what you guys want to see me make while I'm taking this time where the guild can't come by, so I have to occupy myself. And when I'm not working on my project for Starcross Comics, which are also working to pay the bills, this is not a mic. This is my top down. This is my top down. My cell phone plugs in. Let me see. Let me show you. Boom, like so, and then I can film over my hand when I'm drawing. This isn't a weird mic. I got a message. People like to know these things. Now I gotta set this back up because unfortunately I don't trust my systems. There we go. And we're still streaming, but what we're going to talk about this week, and I was going to talk about Cloak, but I can't find my Cloak. So, because it got put away, I don't fight it very often. I want to go. No, just technology. We're going to get into fighting non-fensory weapons, or where Steve lives. Now, if you're going to be dealing with an opponent who's stronger, they're probably going to use weapons that fit their strength. And that, again, is material for the strong sword, which I'm still tinkering away at, trust me. But it goes to the evolution of weapons. And I love this. This is one of those things I came up with a while ago. It is the family tree of weapons, so you can figure out how they pretty much came to be. All right? And we've lost track of the practicality of simple combat weapons. And as we live in an era where present there may be a renewed interest in simple weapons for self-defense, on top of the wonderful historical study, in that something like this, unless I throw it, never runs out of ammo. So we need to look at what, if in that kind of mind frame, or let's say you're a LARPer. LARPers love diverse weaponry. You get a lot of people who want to use daggers and knives because they're rogues. You get duelists with something a boffer equivalent of one of these guys. You get your barbarians with great axes. I used to have a great one, but it walked. A guy named Cliff swiped it, and I'm still annoyed about that. I don't mind giving my training for free, but I really do dislike when people steal my gear. It's a pet peeve. Oh, speaking of gear, and once again being off camera, still here, don't leave. Look what came in the mail. My second medieval buckler. This is the Cold Steel medieval buckler. I mean, I could do an unboxing, but they come in a bag. Little hang bag. I love it. If I ever got enough money to have a store where these were available in hang bag, that would just make me delightfully happy. Yeah. A lot of people give their swords cred, but I am all excited. So now, when I bring out, which I don't think my orange one is up here anymore. No, it got moved with the Great Shield migration. I now have two of these so people can train with exactly the same style gear. This makes me happy. And these guys, bulletproof. Not bulletproof. Not like, please do not shoot these. It's, I think it's PPE, isn't it? Yeah. These are not bulletproof, but they are nearly indestructible under standard means. They're beautiful tools. I love them. They also take paint very well. So Let me know. You guys think I should just leave one black standard? Should I paint it orange like I painted the other one so it shows up? What do you guys want to see? Because this was on sale on through Amazon for $24. That's almost half the price they usually go for. They usually are around the $40 line. And I'm recommending this out. I'm like, guys, this is a great chance. I'm like, I should get another one. And I said that to Matt, and she's like, yes, you should get another one. Guys, when your wife says you should get another sword or shield or martial arts equipment or something, one, you married the right woman. And two, do it. Okay. So, fresh out of the package. I love this thing. I'm also going to put it over there. So again, I'm kind of prattling around. Not a lot of viewers today, but I know that a lot's going on, so I'm not really worried about it. I do want to know what, Steve, I don't know if you saw this. I think you will find it amusing because, like I said, I don't know who was on before, but I will be making more things along this line for the lighter fencers when they come back. I also have some Olympic style guys. So that is in the works. Now we're going to get back to the nitty gritty. We're going to talk about the opponents you might face. Now we've talked about fighting other swordsmen. And I use swordsman as a gender neutral term. Got a message. That might be the case in some places, and it might be the trade-off. But for me, I count it's totally worth it. But not here. Okay. We're going to talk about the spear. One, everybody who studies fencing should. It's a dagger. I use those. This is not a dagger, Steve. This is a small sword. This is not a dagger. Yes, I know. I need to retape it. Dagger, not a dagger. Or you're going to tell me this is a toothpick. Then again, Steve, you might tell me this is a toothpick. It wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, it's interesting to see the lag. Let me resheet this thing. It's always getting in the way. But I want to talk something else. Ugh. A lot of folks see. Ooh, oh shoot! I just parried my own camera switch off. A lot of folks see. I lost a viewer. A lot of folks see these blades floating around as ancient, antique things. This was given to me by Pidrak, and they are far more decorative than combat use. They're glorious, and I love them, but the blade flex gets a little different. The problem is, this is what let me know that this is a full-length foil, and I had intended to order the little short ones, so I'm a little annoyed. Let me put this back over here. Sorry. Digression. It's my thing today. I'm sorry, I'm really, really scattered this week. Getting back to the spear. Every fencer should at least try spear, because mechanically the spear works very similar to a rapier or a fencing foil, which sounds odd. You have the king of weapons, the spear. Okay. But mechanically, the spear breaks down into a really simple system, very much like my own, where you have 4 quadrants, me see. What spear do I have? Don't have a spear. Got this. It'll do. Boom, boom, boom. Whoop. The spear, as we pull the camera down. Wide stance, but your thrusting is still incredibly linear. There she disengages. It's stepping in the hand. You have your backhand doing all the work. So it's a lot like counter steering a sidecar motorcycle, which I realize is an obscure reference, but it makes sense. It's very much, pull one way to go the other. Or push down to go up kind of deal. Which, as somebody who games with my Y inverted like it was intended, it makes sense. So, we're going to put that aside for a moment. Because one nice thing, in my study, I'm always surrounded by assorted weapons, just handy. Anyway, when you're fighting the spearman, so we'll put the spear up vaguely in your view to make things... You're going to see some weaknesses. One, you have a wide area that you can move behind if you're fast. The ghost stepping technique is a young man's game or a young lady's game, and not one I could do anymore, but it is one that's always good to keep in mind. The primary weaknesses of the spear are my favorite target, these forearms. I am the reason why so many students prefer to have bracers on. Because when they're lunging, the forearm is extended. You can get offline. The other thing is a spear is just like a punch. You can come up under, lock it up, and as long as it doesn't have like bladed back fins, now you've got a nice little tug of war. And as long as you do it offhanded, which I'm doing it, primary to show a point, you can cause them a lot of trouble over here, having closed into the inside their band of attack without allowing them to get you. But throat works good as... Yes, I agree. When you can reach John. Now, John is a better spearman than I am. I'll flat out say that. And he's got a lot more behind a spear than I do. He was the reason I have spear training, between him and my wife, and a wonderful article in Kung Fu Tai Chi about Wing Chun longsword with rapier. I'm like, oh, I get this. Spear was fun. And now the problem is, I always think in terms of the little guy, and John is Hagrid. Really glad to see it. If you haven't hit the like button, John, hit the like button. It's more scared of you than you are of it, and that helps Amazon. God, I'm out of it today. That helps YouTube recognize the value. I don't know if you're still SCA, but even if you ever want to play with the HEMA guys, John, and I don't know, pick up one of these. They're running 20-something right now on Amazon. They're usually 40, but they're high-density polypropylene bucklers. You would love the tar out of this, and there's even room for your meat hook to just fit in. So these are really nice. I don't think they're SCA fencer legal, but you can ask me how much about that I care. I'm going to be doing some welding and stuff, and I'm thinking of you anyway. That's a fingering. It's like you guys are rolling 20s on me right now. It's kind of funny. You guys are doing good. Doing good. I appreciate it, because I need that. See, John, you missed my little axe. My little random axe. I will stick with... John, your buckler's a warboard. His buckler's a warboard. It's bigger than the camera will allow me to gesticulate. Half the time. Look up my shield video later if you want to see what I mean. It won't be down in the comments, but you look on the channel. But of course you will. But really, you might want to consider getting one set of HEMA-compatible weaponry for after this goes over. A very small outlay will get you a full gear of weapons. Yeah. Let me see. Questions. What was the small sword? I talked about that. Must have been somebody coming in late. This is me rigging up. I'm going to start rigging fencing foils for classical fencing. So, guys, when the world straightens out, I'm going probably this fall, when I know people won't die from being within 6 feet of each other. I'm going to hold a practice, okay? And I'm going to invite everybody. It's going to be a big deal. We may have to have people park in the park and ferry down. But I would love to get John Miner and Steve Clausen in a battle. I want to see you two beat on each other. It would amuse me to no end. None whatsoever. So that needs to happen. Anyway, John's right. The throat is actually a really good target, especially with the helmet, because a lot of people have a blind spot around the mouth because a solid helmet, my wife was famous for, she was fencing someone her size, and happy birthday, Jonathan! I am so glad on so many levels. Okay. John Miner's son, Jonathan, went through some medical problems and really worried me. Unfortunately, at the time, instead of being able to come up, I was going through some medical problems and I couldn't legally drive, or was strongly suggested not to. Please give him every bit of love I have, because Jonathan's a great guy and I'm so glad he's still here with us. That's one of those that hangs heavy. So I'm happy to see it. Sorry. Okay, we got a little distracted. But basically, the trick with fighting a spear is you cannot mess around with long range. Now, John will tell you a good spearman will also be able to short shank and bayonet at relatively small distances. You're just going to have to work around that. That's why being able to tangle his weapon is so crucial. Or getting in before they do short shank the spear. Also, the fact that John's walking stick could easily classify as a spear because of his height is a little cruel. And I've told people about John parrying me across, whole yards before. And yet he can still fence because he's a clever, clever man. But, sorry, you know how it is. You make a new toy, you want to fidget with it. I love how that thing's just become like my hanging out in the background. I don't know. It's just it's giving me a hand, I guess. But single hand and blocks. True. I'm a big fan. If you're fighting spear, you should have a single-handed weapon as a backup anyway. And since John's dagger was as long as my arm, it's a heck of a backup. So you want to think of that. But when you're, a lot of how you fight will depend on what you're fighting. The real world spears, and to an extent the SCA world spears, and like HEMA, and certainly like Bohurt, which basically are not live steel, scary. It's like, that's like past the level of acceptable crazy even for me. And I'm the guy who pinch parried a sharp-tipped gin because the demonstration went wrong. But they're heavier, and unless they're training, John made a 30-inch, a poniard. This is a 30-inch rapier. This! Ah! And yes, I know the tape slid. Let me see if I can just rip it off. There we go. I'm not arguing it with anyone. This is a fencing flexi dagger. This is essentially a poniard in a human's hands. Are you starting to get the scale of what I used to have to deal with, folks? And yes, 30s are beautiful. I love my 30. I almost regret not having it rigged like a primary rapier, but it's so nice for saber apps. This is getting redone. And yes, John is the man who made, because people ask me, John, hold on. They asked me about this. John is the man who brazed this beautiful knuckle duster for me and made this weapon infinitely, give me a second to use my cheater prop, infinitely more protective. Yes, I need to polish this. That was going to be the shtick behind what I was doing for this week, but it didn't work out that way. So we'll bypass that. I still think you need to look up purple. See, I understand in D&D terms I border on being a small size creature. I get I am a gnome in the presence of giants. But at least you guys seem entertained. And that's part of the importance of what I do, I suppose. If all I can do, hey, I still keep this thing. This is my door greeter, John. You're responsible for this mess. So, and a 24-inch weapon is totally appropriate for indoor use. Even though you guys are giants, remember, have a backup. Now, granted, I realize your dagger is going to be between 24 and 30 inches because you can fit that inside comfortably. Even though I'm pretty sure we checked. Don't you have like a 53-inch draw, John? Wasn't there some talk that you could pull a sword with like a 50-inch blade or something ridiculous because of your gorilla arms? Did you ever find out, by the way, because I've been out of the field, and John, since you're still here, I assume, did you ever find out if they were making, and who made that, what was it, 45, 47-inch rapier that Magnus was using back in the day? I would love to know who made that. Just for, we'll say, poop and giggles. So, I would love to know who made that. Probably Hanway, but I don't think they do custom order. The other thing is, Hello Kitty Karambit still exists. I'm not getting rid of it, and I'm going to try to bring it out just about every episode. In fact, just to make Steve happy, the Hello Kitty Karambit lives. But you can pull a 54-inch draw. That's what I thought. See, we need to get you a rapier that long, John, with a nice equivalent of a bastard hilt. Hand and a half. Will die, but not today. See, it's happy to see you, Steve. It misses, but we're really not getting anywhere much. But I love spears. I think we need to start consider bringing back. I made 4. Seriously, you made 4 54-inch rapiers for longsword. Now, is that overall or blade length, John? And if it is, get on the Fencing Guild group, which I think you're a member. If not, you should be a member. Look up Historical Fencing Guild Public. And you should definitely be a member there if you aren't already. And put pictures up, and we can talk about them. Honestly, I would love just the pure S&G of getting my little mitts on one of those sometime. Just maybe do a review, because I think it would be fun. And I'm going to tell you, before all this stuff went on under, so was it last summer or the summer before, I stumbled upon a fencing Hanway blades, a fencing tourney, a demo. It was a demo at a Ren fair, and I'm not going to name group names, but I am going to say they need you need to step up the training in the area, John, because they've slipped. And that is jaded in armchair, but I think between you and me, we know I have the credits to say it. I we'll talk. We're gonna talk. Um, but moving on. Do we want to keep going, attempting to keep to the book, or do you guys have questions, commentary? Because we're having a good chatty week, and I think I've been kind of stressed this week because real world stuff has gotten in the way. Families having to go back to work, and I haven't gotten to focus on my escapism as much as I like. So, oh my God, I did. I'm sorry, John. I I've had some problems since last time I saw you, and part of that actually affected my memory. It's functioning back, but I have some short circuits, and yes, no. Now I was trying to make a plug, so basically we could advertise your talents here, and maybe if get you some more commission stuff because I think I would love to see you get back doing weapon commissions because you make some of the prettiest riggings I've seen, and especially if you slow down, because many of my weapons, and I could do almost. See, two. I've got two. I'd say two and a half John Miner specials because he well he did the cross guard for that. He did a really neat clamshell for my 38, but that's downstairs, and I'm not going to do that. And 38-inch rapier, not 38 caliber freedom stick. We're not supposed to say that other word apparently on YouTube, so I'm not going to. But he did the guard that's on my fighting dagger. I have a wide blade dagger downstairs that I was my main secondary weapon for years, and he did the most beautiful brass bell I think I've ever seen. It was simple but elegant, and I started out life as a brass electrical plate cover, and it just really he made something magical out of it. I would love to see. It's been several years. I can't imagine what your skills have reached now. I'd love to see, do some more stuff. But enough pontificating. Yeah, right. This is my channel. You know me better than that, folks. We talked about spears. Oh, John. Oh. You need to set out to make something pretty. You know what? I'm going to do it. Let's see. It is the 15th of May? Sure. The 20th is coming up, and that's kind of a big deal in my universe for a few reasons. But you know what? Let's say by Halloween, John, I want to see if you can. I challenge you to crank out a beautiful rapier rigging, like one of those swept hilts that make the more frou-frou guys lose bodily control. See, I challenge you to do that by Halloween, and we'll see if, assuming the world is back to normal, we can get you on to show it off on this channel, because you need more recognition outside of the scope of the society. I think you've done enough that for Western martial arts and for Eastern martial arts and bringing together through the guild. I want to see if I can't get you some more press. You also need to start writing, John. Ah! I caught it before it could fall. But sorry. Lots of dead air for a second. But we are actually moving forward again. As the weather changes and as I get stuff prepared, I'm going to be making some simple, especially, I'm almost embarrassed to say it with John watching us. I know that's a thing of beauty. And you could do some live steal. I would love to set up, a sort of forged and fire thing later on too. Strange things can happen. You start socializing outside of that group, but because I can show you guys. This is the original guard from my my rapier, and it's mild steel. It was in the bottom of my guard toolbox, and it's up here because I've been going through my riggings to. I'm going to clean them up, and I was going to do that on video, but today, guys, I'm an autism parent. I take care of my son. He has special needs, and that means occasionally my plans don't always go. I don't like to fly that flag often, but it's the reality of what I do. It's part of why I don't make a lot of money, and I don't regret a nanosecond of it. But it does occasionally interfere with my plans to do things. But remember, this is the guard he replaced, although this was on the sword that Dale Elbent, for whatever reason he was inclined to do so. And I have this. I'm going to clean these up, and as I get different blades in, I'm going to see about getting the riggings I have on other things. But yes, you know what? If you want to plan a day after this all rattles around, maybe this coming winter when stuff is kind of dull, we could do a whole episode, featuring what you do. We might even be able to do one of those split screens. I'm looking to develop my technology past the guy with the tarp background, but we'll talk, especially if there's interest. Everything I do is by interest and by my patrons. Right now, my patrons are Steve Agosto. Sorry, speech impediment gets hold of his name. And Ren Contessa, who I'm hoping debuts her video channel soon. I'm really looking forward to hearing about the softer side of run fairs, not Sears, and high-end gowns and things. She knows some really neat stuff, and she can review video the bands, let you know who's worth seeing at a Ren fair versus who you might skip. Prioritized. Well, I'm working on trying to get her to do that. We'll just see. I am appreciative of whatever comes of that. But yeah, we need to do videos on that. We're coming up really close to the hour mark. We're a little south of it, so I'm going to take a minute and plug both the Simple Sword, which if you guys don't own, you should. And John, I don't think you have any publications right now, but if you do, put them in the comments. Same with you, Steve. Both of you have unique skill sets that there aren't, in my opinion, enough manuals on. And much of it overlaps. In fact, much of U2's history is eerily, including angry Korean men standing on your chests. But I would love to see you do some stuff. My writing and all my games, that's Big Stompy Robots, not work takes precedent. Then take notes, John, because if you have a heart attack in the middle of whatever, all your genius is lost, and we don't want that. You've pulled your entire life out of history. This is the part where you can pay it back, and I know you can. And yeah, I'm a pain in the butt. But I'm going to build people up whether they like it or not. I always have, I always will. You know that about me. And really, open up a Word file, type a bit. You can do it. Oh, God, he's going to kick my butt when he sees me. And I'm okay with that, too, because you know what? You put yourself on the line every time you state an opinion, and I'm going to keep doing that because that's who I am. Not dead, just departed. Whee! Wow, it tried to fall in the garbage can. Quit using psychic stuff, Steve. Let's see what we got. And from the messages, what do we have in the messages? Okay, we've got a request. What do these guys fight? Well, all right. Steve is our resident karambit guy. Short knives, aggressive fighting styles, and freedom pill dispensers. He does a lot involving freedom, like it's like Pez, you know? Pez? Yeah, and then the little pill comes out. He does a lot of that. John does a lot of knife work, again, very fluid. They overlap eerily. SCA heavy, SCA light, a bunch of things that end in keto. I don't actually know all the martial art hand-to-hand that Steve does offhand, but both these guys are very knowledgeable in their relative fields. Excellent. We will, John. One way or another. I have absolute faith that we will cross paths and cross swords again, because you've got the history, man. We've got history. It's just I've got my people are kind of scattered out a bit right now, and getting them all together takes time and effort. But I know some old friends would love to get to see you again, and I'd love to get them back. I'd like to get I would love to get Leto down. I haven't fought Leto in years, and I miss him. Trelena's I think you fought Trelena. Trelena's a great fight. You and Steve would have fun. You would enjoy Steph. Yeah, you know what? There's a facility for that nearby. There's a an outdoor candy catching facility that's not terribly expensive nearby. We might work something out. But things I say on YouTube sometimes. And I know, guys, I asked Xander what shirt I should wear. He said wear the camouflage one. I know it sounds militant. Ignore the stay strapped or get clapped Nerf gun. He's been ambushing me lately, so old rules apply. But Nerf blaster. I'm sorry, it is not a gun. It is a blaster. Not Nerf. Random fact for the people who don't know, NERF is an acronym. It stands for Non-Expanding Recreational Foam. The more you know. You don't know it, John, but you and Steve are bros. You are seriously going to be bros. Like, have no doubt the level of brodom you guys for all that candy. You guys both love crushing candy. Designated marzipan retailers. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, getting back on topic, we are still at the hour mark, and I got interrupted plugging what I do. But if you go to Amazon.com/author/Nicholas Talker, you can download the Simple Sword. You can download the Big Stompy Robots books, and a few other games, including Melee, the game I designed with a now deceased friend of both John and I's mutual acquaintance. I finally kind of realized he'd be annoyed that I wasn't running with the game that I designed and had him playtest. So it's up. And that's for armchair generals in certain recreation groups who will remain mostly nameless. But yeah, look that up. All my stuff while the coronavirus is going on is free to download through Kindle Unlimited. I honestly don't know if I make money, but is but it's how I'm giving back, because right now I can't do a lot. I'm working on some really neat projects, but if you like it, please buy it. The money goes to me. And if you want to support what we're doing, please, $1 a month on Patreon, anything you can do, it would be appreciated, because that's what I use to buy the gear that I train people with. And I don't charge the people I train, because a lot of the people I work with, and if you don't believe me, you can ask John, you can ask Steve, you can ask anybody who comments who knows me. A lot of people are people who couldn't get training any other way because they'd either been rejected by groups due to physical limitation, or their traumatic experiences have led them where they need a way of building up belief in themselves. And I use swordplay to do that. So, I'm not a charity, but maybe I should be. I don't know. I'm just trying to keep the lights on, folks. So thank you for that. Now, by the way, one of you, because I have two people talking right now, being John and Steve, and one of you has to hit the like button. Please, rectify that. You know what? That really that makes me feel good, John. That really makes me feel good, because John, what John said, in case you're not watching the comments, he said he has loaner gear when I show up about 12 swords at this time. And when I was involved in our mutual group, I think I was more, and I still am more, about the loaner gear than I was my own gear. To the point, I still keep buying gear for training people instead of getting my own gear, my personal gear, up to maybe snuff. I need to do something about that. But then I was like, I can't afford here. What do you want to learn? And that's why I've been working on the cheapest way to arm people to train them. That's why we went with things like this guy, which normally would not be orange, but I do a lot of videotaping at night and it shows up better. This was a $6, roughly, some as high as 12. Parry dagger works great against the poly stuff. I actually, for people who don't know, again, we have the this is $50, but this is the Purple Heart Armory. It's a company out of Texas that makes training gear. I helped design this so that there would be a side sword that people could afford to use in the HEMA community, with the express intent that we keep it under the $50 line, because I wanted it to be cheap enough people could afford it. And I actually, for people who don't know and might be coming in, okay, well, I don't know what's going on there. Oh, lead poisoning is period, and also long range ventilation. Yeah, lead poisoning is period. They were drinking out of lead held glass devices, and long range penetration had nothing to do. I'm trying to look at what I have handy. I don't have anything of that variety in here right now that I can see. Short range penetration here. Another blast from the past, John. This thing's still handy. Force shields. Let's see. Look through some of the previous videos, John. see what we're swinging, because my group is I'm proud of them, and my local standings are pretty good too. So if we could do a big meet, we could have a decent shield wall, assuming we can keep everybody together. And I don't know. I don't seem to think Steve was big into shields. I mean, I know he could make them go, but I think Steve liked the axes and more Viking era swords. You know, a bit more, but jumping in their shorts with little raptor hooks that are supposed. This this is a raptor claw. This both birdly and, like, if you want to scare a kid who doesn't respect his dinos, is that kydex material. Um, the weapons are high density polypropylene, high polyethylene, HDPE. So we use HDPE for a lot of the shields. Uh, I I think that's what I think. This is a UH, ultra high density poly. This does not flex. Now I can do a full video talking about some of the different weapon classes, because I have a sword that you would love, in that it's an Odachi that has no guard, and it's almost as tall as I am, and I think you would love it. And yeah, you prefer a nice little offhand parry axe. The cold steel. Do I have an axe handy? No, I don't. Okay. Now I'm not. Well, I have an axe handy, but I don't have a cold steel tomahawk trainer. Look up cold steel tomahawk trainers. We use those a lot as offhand axe parries. They're rather popular. I have like a go. I lost count how many of the rondel daggers I have, because I got them for like $4. What is that wheel? Anyway, uh, so yeah, a lot of what we've done as we're outside the SCA's rule sets is more HEMA like. So, this, believe it or not, do you remember that really whippy Tai Chi sword I had when I was playing with Marco? That, with a little bit of gnomish engineering, has become a small sword trainer that's light enough for my goofy grip, just with some slight mods. I have switched to that because of the maintenance, in that there's almost none, the lower cost, and availability. So we switched over to that because we had a lot of HEMA guys crossing over for a while. Now, he's talking about my wife's battle Warhammer that is in here because I did a video briefly discussing it. And yeah, there's history there. There's history from history on top of history. And I keep it all together and try to bring it to folks to entertain it. I don't know if you have an Etsy shop, but you might want to consider that just as a sideline. Do some stuff. That way, if you're ever laid off again, or things go wrong, you've got. This is what I do. I build people up, and I encourage them to do their own businesses pretty much constantly. It's a bad habit I've gotten into. Steve has to endure it regularly, me going, hey, I've got this idea that'll help you out. And I'm, of course, freelance author, artist, game designer for comic books now, and a few other projects that I can't talk about that I really want to, because it's cool. But I keep a lot of irons in the fire, because you know me. None of them make a lot, but if I can keep a stream in, we can make enough. Whole universe is a carrot and sharp stick. All matter is either a carrot or a sharp stick, and all energy is either hustle or flow. You keep that quadranted out and keep your juice to squeeze ratio, and you can get through the universe. That's brought to you by a product of the Michigan City area school system. But I've gone an hour and 10 minutes, folks, and I'm kind of glad. Not a lot. This has been a kind of quieter video, which tells me I have to market my opening of these more. But I want to know, first of all, whatever happens, because I did not expect the net to work. I want to thank John Miner and I want to thank Steve Clausen for coming in, and so I don't have to talk about my junk endlessly without to an empty room. It gets difficult. You guys are really helping me out here. So, do you guys have any questions? Anything you want me to address? I mean, both of you are from alternate fields, and I don't know if there's a lot I could give you other than pointing you at each other for more than one reason. But I really think, one, you two, if you're not friends on Facebook, at least you need to be, because I swear you two are of a class in like D&D terms, if anything else. So I'd love to see the mischief that would come from you guys. But anyone else? We have a third viewer who's been silent. I appreciate you being there, but if you can, please wade in, say something, ask something. Boy, do I have I've got a good crew for answering questions. Hello to whoever just joined up. We're the video and left. Bam. I really like this. Well, you could use the Thor hammer defensively. You could use it as a parry device, I would think. And I do believe, I mean, if you can come out here, our regulations and HEMA regulations, the conventions are different. We try to keep fencing calibration with all weapon styles. So fast but light, controlled. We still do very aggressive fighting. I think, but one, I think you both would enjoy it, and two, honestly, I know you two. You both would look at each other, and it would be a different thing. You scared them. I have that effect on people. I scare people, and I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing, but this furry guy, I think it's a shirt. On the 25th until my company has this. John, that's a frequent thing for you, and I obviously I'm praying for you, but you have a couple weeks at least where you can take your talent, take your resources, and do some crafting. Build something cool. Maybe start doing custom stuff. A lot of people are going to come out of this this thing we're in, this pandemic. Oh, awesome! Do you have a web link to that, John? Do you have are you running booths? I'm sorry, merch? Are you merchanting back and forth for Scadian, non-Scadian? I would, I want, when you have projects, you to plug them on these videos. If anything, to attract you some customers and make, interconnect. The other thing you might want to look at is the HDPE that is used by HEMA guys is obviously very simple to shape. I have a few videos talking about custom building projects. I have that. Let me see. This. If I organized myself, I'd be able to find anything. But we've made a lot of custom weapons on this channel that work really well out of sheets of HDPE that are just cut out. It just takes somebody who knows what they're doing about weapons to make them. I'd love to see you do a line for HEMA guys, because with little layout and the tools I know you have, you could do it easily. Obviously your steel stuff is beautiful. Swyhammer Metals has always been good to me over the years, and I always I'm not saying I'm looking for sponsors, but let's get you big enough that you can sponsor me. That'd be awesome. I will totally shill. Uh, but only for people I like actually respect. And yeah, I'm going to be doing, for the people who are wondering, there will be more light poor man riggings coming out as the weeks go by, and I'm going to try and make them as nice as I can. And then John will laugh and show me how it's done. But that's okay. There's a channel I watch that says, don't try to be self sufficient in everything, but try to be self sufficient in one thing. You know, I try to be able to do a bit of everything. I don't claim mastery over many things. I am dang good at teaching the basics of swordplay to new people, and I don't think there's anybody who knows me who, honestly, doesn't hate my guts, who will argue with that. And even the people who hate my guts have benefited from my work. So you're not that scary. But so yeah, please put, I will talk about Swackhammer medals. You look back on the videos, I've been talking about the riggings you've made for years, and I've had people ask about it. So if you can give me a link that I can send them and the people watching up here, then maybe I can drum you up some business, because that's what I'm about. I'm about building people up, both on the field and off. And I can't really build you up much on the field. You're 7 foot. You're 7 foot. You're 6 foot lots, and covered in fur, John. I mean, you're half werebear, regardless of moon sign thing. So yeah, this is a good video. Let me check the messages. Let's check the messages, because I've got 9. Holy oh no, that's something else entirely. Okay. Oh, got somebody who wants to know best fighting knife. Oh yeah, I got haters. I got haters. Right now, I've got at least certain people like ritual. I think the only reason I haven't died from voodoo doll kills is a measure of faith, and the fact that so many people are trying to kill me at the same time, it overloads the system. Heaven help me if they queue up. You might really want to consider a web link, John. I think that might be a good next step for you, because you can still do it, only by orders, but set up a free web page, even just a dedicated Facebook group, so that I can share it out to, modern people. You have talents that can make you moderate money. Both you and Steve have different universes of what you consider money, but I think you'd love the work. And honestly, who knows? You guys might do some cross promotion, because both of you have projects that I think the other would really like, if I can get you guys to do it. But then again, I've never been one to manipulate the fate of others. Never. No one has ever seen this. I don't know what you're talking about. It wasn't me. But, so, you know what? For me, best knife, my day-to-day knife is the knife I carry. That is a CRKT minimalist. I wear it as a neck knife. It's a spear point black blade. This is probably my favorite day-to-day knife of all time. Steve sent me a message saying best knife is based on style and environment. So let me see what they're looking for. Okay. They want to know fighting knife. Okay. That's a whole different universe. A knife, if you're using it to fight, is wow. First thing I'm going to get, for me, I'm going to give it the sword claws. What's the best sword? The one you can reach. The best knife, I tend to be a bit of a purist, so I want a fixed blade. Yeah. If I'm knife fighting, 6 to 8 inches, non-slip grip. Hair-footed gerbil. Hair-footed gerbil. Okay, yeah. Randall. Anyway, not sure about the Randall. Hair-footed gerbil, long-haired leaping gnome. I've been called it all. But for me, I don't now. Randall knives, really? Okay, I'd have to look up what Randall knives are, and if I do that, I'll lose the screen. So let me get to my side system over here, and I will look up Randall knife. I know that name, Randall. I'm sorry, my brain turned Randall into Rondell, and I was about. Gerber Model 1. That's a solid knife, John. I'm familiar with a Gerber Model 1. Let's see. Randall knives. And a lot of it you're going to see is generational. Now, if we were talking combat, I feel I need to talk about the Ontario. It's a light Ontario. It was by Ontario Knives. It has a place out of this room, but it's a light K-bar knockoff, essentially bar carry, and obviously a lot of weight to it and a lot of funky looks from people. Okay, sorry, I don't know how much I lost, but I have to give some credit. Okay, Randall Brand, nice. John saying a Gerber Model 1. That is a classic carry knife. But like I was saying, I did used to carry a Ontario knockoff K-bar style knife that was a 2/3 K-bar, and I accidentally brought that in your gunfight and won. I don't like talking about it because it was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. Ironically, I was out with John. Things just to happen when we go out. That was one of the downsides. Upsides. The sides of dealing with John were it was always an adventure. Now I'm looking for something, obviously, that this is one of my favorite knives, which you wouldn't think as a fighting knife, but if I'm carrying a big knife, my Winoka is just this. This is my dive knife, and even when I'm snorkeling, or Aries knives are nice too. Obviously, this isn't your usual stab; has more pry elements, but this is a great fixed blade knife, and I absolutely adore it. And so I feel like I got to mention that. Now, oops. The trick is the knife needs to be not, comfortable in your hand, sturdy enough to do what you need to do, stylistically in line with how you have trained. For some people, so basically, if you're not a knife guy, there's a line of push daggers that are really great if you're a striker. So if your weapon and your tool should always match your style and your body. I also like the Marine K-bar and the Air Force survival knife. I think that's what mine was. You remember the knife, John? Maybe you can remember the actual make and model. It's way over there. I know it was by Ontario, and it looked like somebody shrunk a K-bar. Love the thing. It's still sharp enough to shave with, but it's just it lives elsewhere in the house. I don't know if anybody else has like room knives. Like there's a tool you have it so you can get it to it if you need it where you need it. Boop, I forgot. Boop, 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 boop. And I'm sorry, I got another comment with pictures coming in because I can't really get pictures through the thing. And if it opens up, I will comment on it. If not, it's my net being dodgy. But whatever you pick, okay, and I'm going back to my goofy little hatchet over here, going back to these, I made, 1 second, I modified one of these to be like this because I love main gouges, okay? Great for training, safe. Went out and bought, I'm just causing trouble, a main gouge. I can make this go because I practice with this. So whatever knife, if you're planning a defensive knife, either go high-end enough that that you can order a factory trainer to match it in hard and soft, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. In hard and soft, or make your own out of HDPE. How do you do that? The simplest method is you take whatever you're going to make a copy of to train with, okay? They don't sell trainers of this guy. I love this guy. What I'm going to do is get a nice 1/4 inch thick cutting board out of HDPE. I'm going to trace it. I'm going to cut it out. It's just that simple. Make sure you have something the same length, relative size, preferably weight. Now, I said soft trainer versus hard trainer. This is something I haven't really gotten into on this channel, but as we get into more practical applications, I'm going to get into. Now, we've been making fun of the Hello Karambit. The Hello Karambit was made because I have numerous Karambit trainers that some have been given and donated to me by Steve. Some are just the left behinds from James Robertson. But they're made of HDPE or something equivalent of a hard plastic. Great to control. Yeah, made to piss you off. In part it was, but it also, this is soft enough that with a weapon like a Karambit, if you are actually training and following through your strikes and you are using a hard trainer, that's your blunt aluminum trainers, even your HDPE, there's no give. That means they can be very painful. In some cases, the trainers will cause more initial pain than if you were using a real one on somebody. And that's the Air Force survival knife you have. Okay, you know exactly. That's what I thought it was, but I won't. If I'm 99% sure on something, I won't say that's what it is on this channel. I have to be 100% sure. But so we have these. Now we have a lot of hard knives and we train light because of the style. I teach people to move at full speed or faster and stop because they know their ranges intimately rather than concuss through. And that's the core of safely learning how to fight. You have to have a safe basis, and then you can do more aggressive things when you're educated. And that's when you need stronger armor. You know what? I don't know if you can answer this, and if you're uncomfortable answering this, John, just say you're uncomfortable, and I will drop it. But it was my opinion when I was fencing in the SCA that the armor requirements did not match the weapons well enough. What I mean is enough kinetic force could come through the cloth when things went wrong that, it would stop a broken blade, but it didn't protect from the impacts. in some of the soft areas. As somebody who had 5 ribs torn from their sternum, I can get that way. And I think plastrons, which are the traditional. It's funny, plastron you would think is plastic, but it predates it. It's a period leather or a steel plate that covers the chest. I think those should be mandatory for everybody, not just suggested for women. Trainers out of PVC absolutely work, as long as you're really careful, because they can break under concussive use, which is part of why I switched to HDPE. 1 second again. I don't think John has seen it because he hasn't spent a lot of time on the channel, but this is my cane trainer. It is an HDPE rod, 3 feet long, 1 inch in diameter. I wish I had bought the 7/8 because this is just a little uncomfortable for my hand, but you guys would love it. And yes, I actually, my favorite staff design is my $5 staff, which is getting a 3/4 inch HDPE, the gray conduit end caps, putting chair feet over those, and then at key points about 18 inches in from either, putting it, taking rope and duct taping it on so that you have a feel. About eyebrow length or 5 foot in general is what I go, because that gives me 2 out of 1 10-foot length. But those are some of my favorite training staffs because they can be light, or you can pull the cap off, fill the whole thing up with sand, put the cap back on, and then you have a weighted trainer. Just don't ever put partial sand. Like if you put weight in it, it has to be solid and packed, because if you put just a bit of sand, it becomes a dead blow hammer, and that's a really, really nasty thing to do to somebody. So let's try not to do nasty things, theoretically, on a channel that teach people to kill each other safely. One neat thing I'm finding out is my book is being used by authors to learn to write sword fight scenes better. And I think that's a neat way to go at it. So that's okay. Private. I get private comments through Facebook Messenger asking, does my book? Absolutely. I believe you can learn enough to get an understanding, because so many times you'll be watching a movie or you'll be reading a book and there'll be a fight scene, and gentlemen, I'm sure you can chime in, where this does not make sense. Guys, swords don't do that. Rapiers are light, but it's much harder to cut through them than you see in every movie where a guy pulls out his rapier and, parry this at Hannibal. And John's laughing because that's an old battle cry, but while doable, it's harder than people want to admit. And I think John's picked up a lot of finesse. I'd like to see how the rapier fighting over time has changed his heavy fighting. I'd like to see how that affected. But I get more. I pay attention to people. I like watching them fight. Watching Steve's fighting has been intriguing to me, because exactly. And my problem is there's so much damage that can be done with concussion, with the lag probably between commenting and my cruddy internet. Fencing armor really, I think they should look into it. And I hope you're recommending to your students, because I remember plastrons were optional. If I had been wearing one, I wouldn't have an X-ray that makes people faint. And I've got several, and that was a marshaled, supposedly safe whole thing in front of everybody. And I talk about it now because it can't really hurt anybody. But yeah. We need to now. If we were fencing with these guys, it would make sense. to be prepared for broken blades. But I've seen a Schlager L bend, and that was Dale, and he still owes me a Schlager. Actually, it was one of the last Zamorano, but he still owes me a blade. I have not forgotten. But accidents happen. Anyway, I've seen a L bend, and I've heard of one breaking off at the Rat Tail Tang. And after that happened, Zen Warrior went to the partial Rat Tail and widened the tangs. But I've never heard of a blade breaking. I don't know if you ever have. Of Schlager heavy rapier blade. I don't know about the Hanaways. I still think they feel a bit more. They feel a bit lighter than the American blades, but I am of course biased. So we can wade into that. Oh, I heard a rumor that flexi daggers were banned. I don't know if that's true, but I would love to know because one, I've got one still. Two, I do love my old flexi dagger, even though I understand as a railroad spike they were named properly. Okay, sorry, we got a little serious. Let me see if I have any more. Check the messages there, because I get a lot of questions that people won't ask. Oh, the Randall blades opened up, and those are gorgeous. And it's interesting, where Steve goes. Let's see, I've got cry havoc and release the dogs of war. Always, always, woof woof. Well, now, guys, right here, you heard it on the Historical Fencing Guild. John Miner, swordsman, Smith, and General Wonderful Nut Job just released the dogs. That's it, John. You are the one who let the dogs out. When they say who, let the dogs out, John cried havoc and let the dogs out. And now we know, and knowing is half the battle. The other half, for people who are wondering, is split equally between red and blue lasers. Okay, I got a question from Stephen Foster, who asks, who trusted you with a blade? Well, Stephen, good guy, great guy, actually. He's involved with my BSR stuff. He loves my BSR stuff. And right now, I will say he's probably Big Stumpy Robot's biggest fan. And he knows me through the gaming world. So he doesn't really know me through the fencing world. Which is interesting because a lot of my worlds don't always overlap. But yes, I've been working with people for just about 20 years. We're right around the 20-year line in August. I've been fighting, and I was training and working with people almost as soon as I was learning. So there's that. And to the people who don't know, I kind of wrote a book on the subject, The Simple Sword. Gotta plug myself, Available through Amazon. Always, always, always shamelessly plug yourself, folks. There's no shame in profiteering from your own works. Now, so we have that question. Let's see if I can get the second picture to open up. To keep from straining my already funky internet, I am actually running a sideline. So my phone's running a different system, and it's muted so I can broadcast properly. That's why there's a delay there. What we have, what I'm getting is the coolness that are Ares knives. Something to look up, folks. All right, I want to know, what are your favorite fighting weapon producers? Okay, so this is going to go to John. This is going to go to Steve. What do you think about what you want to spar with? Okay, I'm not talking live steel now. Live steel's good, but I want to know what your favorite suppliers off the rack for fighting gear is. Because I obviously have some really set opinions on that, and then and I'd love to get some callback if possible. Well, I have to wait for the lag to generate that idea. My favorite, retail, and I am not currently sponsored by anyone. Really? Oh my God. Wow. Okay, John just said you need to watch the cold. At Valday, we had a blade break. Mid-length, 3 pieces due to cold, not enough time to warm up before use. John, what maker was that? Was that a Hanwei? Or was that like a ZWA? Who made that blade? Because that will affect my opinion on their sales. Because, wow, that's shocking. Anyway, while we wait for John to answer that question, because it might just change my opinion sitting here. Classically, I got my fencing gear through, it was Triplet Competition Arms. It's now it's been that long. Zen Warrior Armory. I do love the Fox and... Oh, okay. I'm going, I assume Steve Clausen says Fox and Bastinelli make great trainers for their blades. I'm going to have to look them up because it's like CRKT, the guys who made this, but they haven't made a trainer for this. John trusts me. I trust you with a blade because you can't hurt me. And that's how I feel about that. Okay. Yep, John, you're right. I am a totally harmless fluff ball. And I prefer it that way. I would love to be in a universe where I never have to. Okay, Fox. I know what Steve's talking about. Steve had a wonderful Karambit and trainer, and he actually lost it at my house, and I found it. Well, down on the ground. I'm so short, John can barely reach me. Thank you, Steve. But wonderful high-end Karambit and trainer. It let you see the Karambit as a means of control. And it's funny, I almost like blunted Karambits better than I like edged ones, which sounds a little odd, but I'm big on why do I carry a stick for defense? Because usually I can hold my own. John doesn't count, he's a giant. If I need to deal with John, I want something, a bare minimum of ballista, and I'm going to backstab with it. My favorite supplier is my own designs, the ones I make. Okay, that makes sense. John makes his own, like I do, makes his own riggings at a higher end. But what's your favorite blade supplier? Because I know you're not allowed to use for fighting. You have to purchase the fencing blades from someone. And I know Hanweis make longer blades and they make lighter blades. But I'm still, I like the Zen Warrior rapier blades, and I still hold to liking the oval Schlagers best, followed by the diamond Schlagers for their sheer longevity. They don't take nicks like the other weapons, and while they're not as realistic, Zen Warrior. See, American guys, I will, you can't want a better American economy without buying American. And Zen Warrior is one of my favorite suppliers too. There are still a couple rapiers that if I won the lotto, even though I don't do it that much anymore, I would throw some spear money at Zen Warrior. Like, I want to say an R11, nice little court rapier, fast, light. Put that rig on about a 30, maybe 32-inch blade. Oh, I'd be in heaven. I now have a. You have a. Okay. Problem is, Steve knows Angel Sword and Sabersmith and a few other really neat high-end guys. I don't know. Do they make riggings for fighting blades, Steve? Because I would love to see the results of their crafts, and because that's high end gore. I mean, Angel Sword has some gorgeous stuff. It's distinctive. Oh, sorry. That was my alarm. You see, I set it for 9:45 in the morning, and Tired Nick bumped it to 9:45 p.m. instead of a.m., and I've yet to remember to adjust it. This should surprise absolutely no one. I'm doing better, but I'm still dealing with the change to being a member. Jeff will make whatever Lindsay says. Beautiful. In that case, Steve, given the amount of fencing that's going to be coming down the pipe, when you stabilize financially, you should really consider either ordering and having it delivered to Angel Sword, the Zen Warrior rapier blade of your chosen length. Now, Steve is relative, right around 6 feet tall, and he can use very long weapons, but he also favors infighting. So I almost could see him liking something closer, again, to that 32, 34-inch, just because he's such an offline fighter than a straight long rapier. But I would love to see you, and thank you for the second like, whoever fixed that. I appreciate it. Like I keep saying, and I'll say this probably every video, make sure your weapons are scaled to you. That means John Miner, being who he is. Oh. Steve, when they have a link, okay, share that here, because I've seen enough of their work that while it's way beyond anything I could ever afford, it's interesting, and I admire craftsmanship. Basically, aside from price differences, one of the great ways to look at it is if you are Art Deco, if you are Dwarven aesthetics, Sabersmith for live steel. There's hexagonal guards that are surprisingly comfortable, blocky designs. That's not unattractive, but if you want closer to Art Nouveau, more fluid, I would say Angel Sword. This is based on pure aesthetics. We're not talking about price. And some of these, well, my favorite mini blades. Yeah, I heard about the fire that took out Hanwei. I wasn't sure if they had come back. Oh, God. Deltin. Yeah. Those are gorgeous. If I were to go back in the blades that I like the best aesthetically and feel, I'd have to go with Zamorano. Oh, they felt good. They had that. I have the last one, and it's actually custom rigged to be a longsword. I just don't have the means to make the hilt how I want it, so it's sitting in sort of waiting. So yeah, I have like one of the last Zamorano blades ever produced. To the point when I got it, it wasn't even threaded. When they shut the line down mid-production, yeah, they were beautiful. the taper, the balance. But I will say the Zenwire Rapier Blade is just a solid, well balanced, well made weapon. I like it. I'm just a relic, and I admit it. Uh, the wide fencing daggers are nice. I would avoid Alchem like the plague. The weird rechanging same tang changed the blade rig. If I'm right, wasn't that Alchem? They were ooh, they were very very forgiving. To give them credit, they were very very forgiving, but they were very flexible on one axis, very rigid on the other. Narrow because it was a flat stock cross section, so it was easy to almost edge, and they would break at the tang. I didn't like those, but they weren't SCA legal. I just messed with them, flirting with other groups because shockingly I did that a lot. Wow. Um, let's see. Best throwing knives. Ooh, best throwing knives aside from homebrew. Um, my favorite throwing knives are either the Timberwolf TW22s. Longtime viewers will know they've got a leaf-shaped blade and actually a guard on the a cross guard, so they could actually be really good fighting knives. And they're about heavy, about 12-inch. Don't throw knives. What you talking about, Steve? Talk about don't throw knives. I love throwing knives. What you talking about throwing knives? Throw axes. Now, a nice tomahawk is a beautiful thing, but the Gilhibben, oh god, just the basic large throwers, single edge, black wrapped hilt. I have loved those things from afar for a long time because again they were over the price. I have some knockoffs that I like. I tend to like large throwing knives. If I'm throwing a knife, I don't. Oh, you know what? Smith and Wesson. They have good throwing knives. I've thrown their knives. The Smith and Wesson throwers are good. I agree, John. I didn't think of them. What's who doing now? You'll have to be more specific, my love. And we are blessed by our favorite patron, Ren Contessa, the lady who helps us keep the lights on. Her and Steve Agosto, and for a long time, Nemo Smith. But there's something going on there. I'm not faulting anybody because I'm still eternally grateful. But I'm not sure. I was telling Steve that instead of buying live steel, he should commission when he gets money the Lindsay and Jeff to make him a rigging defense with. And since you just came on, I put this together. And this is like Mark 0.5. I'm going to be doing custom custom light rigs. Wait till you see what it comes. And yeah, when you come out, I will have a set. This one was supposed to be a short, but obviously it's a 36. You're going to love these. Honestly, this is what you need. Steve, I don't. You're being a donkey here. I try not to swear on my channel, but that's a bit of a donkey. We both want Ren to be able to get out and fence. And when I'm really thinking of just buying a cheap welder so that I can try to make some custom riggings because I'd like to step up. Things went down. Things went down, and I didn't get to pick up brazing like I wanted to. It was one of those I was actually supposed to train with John Miner, and that fell through. I was working on some things. Yeah, I know I called it a toothpick, Steve. But I called the dagger a toothpick. That's still a small sword, and we want Ren to sword fight. I have plans here, so I'm gonna put this up just so she can see what I rigged up today. Now I'll probably be dyeing the hilt black as a minimalist, so I wasn't being a donkey. Okay, I am, because of commentary in the background, I am revoking the alleging that Steve was being a donkey. Your donkey status is officially revoked for now. Watching. But yes, a minimalist light style. I think really we'll talk, and by the time I see you next, I'll have something that suits you pretty much. Oh, it isn't. Apparently, Ren says, and I know she means your status isn't. And I got a message live now from somebody else. So we're going to get there. Here's the argument. I am just leaving. The argument can stand its own. Do you need a hand? Anyway, bad joke, Nick. I'm gonna lose viewers. Link, please. Okay. Give me just a second while I do this. Sorry, I had somebody ask for the link to this video, and I am nice enough that I will do that. So right now, I am sharing the video to the person asking for it. There you go. And I'll be talking. Hopefully, when they pop on, I will be talking more about that light weapon because I have plans. Now, I pretty much have come to the decision. I found out that they were selling electric fencing daggers, and like not taser daggers, although gentlemen, taser swords. Steve, John, taser swords? Taser swords. Anyhow, that being said, I would never condone electrified weaponry. We may be getting another viewer who is asking, so we'll definitely be talking about this because he's all kinds of excited. But I love my friends. All my friends. John, so we got talking, and I like the long recurve English longbow, 45 to 55 pound. Yeah, I'm gonna say that my longbow, I absolutely love. It's got, I think we figured about a 45, 50 pound draw, and it's a DeWalt drill. I mean, I can make compounds go. They are a little annoying. Rex Allen Hood, my buddy. Check what I'm working on. Blue Gauntlet goofed up, and they didn't send me size 0 like I asked. They sent me 2 size 5s. But I am making small swords for just this, just the occurrence that several variants. So at least weaponry will be around for you to feel comfortable opposing, aside from my beloved thin blade. Sorry about that, guys. The net just glitched. I miss archery days, Steve. My new location, being near the windiest part of the state, makes longbow difficult. We really need a better range. And yes, I'll bring this back up. I'm going to be doing a bit of homebrew foils. People who want that. That's a point too. Archery season happens. Now, I can't remember if when your matchup Rex here, Al. I know him as Al for reasons, but Al is a talented strip fencer, a collegiate fencer. Oh, I'd ask him what preface you put before fencer, and he'd say, "Fencer, you guys are the ones being all weird about it." But I forgot. Yes, Doctor Hood. But Doctor Hood sounds like a comic book villain, and since that's close to my business right now, Olympic. See, Olympic. Good. But he's an Olympic fencer. And they right now are selling on eBay a set of the electric rigged fencing daggers for offhand, for that spin-off group that's doing offhand, two-weapon fencing. And I almost bought them, but I have the choice of buying those when I don't have the machine rigging, or buying a welder. And with the same amount of money, I have to go with what will do me better. So I'll probably do the welder. But Rex, I can send you the link to them because right now they're kind of in lieu thinking I'm going to buy them. So you might have an opportunity to swoop in if that's something you're interested in. I also saw a scoring machine for like $250 on eBay. Again, it's more. I will try to send you the link after the video, in case that because I'd rather have it go to somebody who will use it. Absolutely, I'm right now. I'm buying practice foils just to practice making rigging. Can't even draw my compound. I couldn't draw your compound. I might be able to now. I'm a little bit stronger than I was. I'm actually to the point, John, where I don't need to wear my wrist brace anymore. And you understand what that actually means, because I spent many, many years with a wrist brace because my arm was too weak to hold itself together. So yeah, and I will try to remember to send you that link after if it's still there, after the broadcast when I'm tearing down. But yeah, we're yes. You guys all remember, Steve, I could draw your longbow. I liked your longbow. Yeah, I've been doing physical therapy for almost God, 15 years trying to get that together, and it's not something I've been talking about, and I still probably should wear it while fighting. But yeah, if you look, I'm not even getting. It's almost back like a uniform color. So that's pretty amazing. I'm doing a lot of work behind the scenes to catch up with the problems that were dogging me. So I'm hoping by the summer I might be in the capacity to get into shape, because I've spent, while I've been boosting people, which is what I do, I've also been trying to get healthy enough to get into shape. And anybody who's had to recover from long-term things knows what that is. I went through a really bad medical period, and I'm better now. I'm just dealing with the ramifications and the realities of some of my stuff. So for the people who have an idea what I'm being kind of cryptic about, thanks for the support, and thanks for coming out and doing this, because I can't do this without people to talk to. One of my videos in this series, I had no commenters. I had no views, and I went almost 2 hours, like an hour and a half, just talking blankly to the screen. It's not easy. But yeah. So you missed some interesting questions, Al, and I'd love to know the answer on a couple of them. What is your favorite supplier for, in your case, Olympic fencing goods? And what is your favorite fighting knife? Because we got a message about that, and I would love to hear your input, concerning that. So yeah, while you answer, because you have a military background. Thank you for your service. Uh, duplicate fix. Hey, Steve. Steve. Al said karambit. Sorry, I have an ongoing thing where I poke fun at Steve with the hello karambit. But it's funny. My backup internet system just collapsed, so I'm hoping the videos keep going. Now I will tell you this: you two's fighting style is beautiful, and it shows how diverse an approach to a weapon can be. I would love to bring I can't remember, John Miner, if you're still watching. What is your you know what? They're the ones who sent me the practice foils that I'm doing. They're definitely the bottom of, they were low cost. And I think most of the people who watch my channel are more entry level anyway. Although I would love to see more people, whatever you do that's physical combat oriented. Oh, I got another message. Okay, yes. That's okay. We've got a good group going. But Al, if you would, after this video, when you get a chance, hop on the Historical Fencing Guild public group on Facebook that people can find by searching Historical Fencing Group. Historical Fencing Guild. No, I had some things that made my mental deficiency more than the usual comical nature, and we haven't talked, but I had developed narcolepsy and epilepsy and epilepsy, catalepsy, basically why I would randomly drop things, and it got real bad. Still demented, but I had some short-term memory loss problems and mid-term memory loss problems. The net's down. Don't, Lord, please. No network. Yeah. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. But yeah, AE fence. I've absolute fencing. I've heard of quite a lot. Blue Gauntlet I only got turned on to fairly recently. Yeah, they're still trying to figure out why it all kicked up. But I had a period where right before we moved, let's just put the reason I took almost a year off of socializing outside of the home was out of necessity, and I am doing a good bit better. But yeah, for a while there, I was taking care of everybody else, and I kind of wasn't taking care of myself. And now I'm a member of the scuba sleeper squad, and that's literally life-saving for me. But it does come with complications. I also, ironically, I don't walk with a cane nearly as much as I used to. I still, have some bad days, but the vast majority of the time, as long as I get my sleep and I take, some things, I can I'm walking with a cane. I'm able to function. Now I'm just fighting the weight that came on during that period. I've seen Leon fencing. I've seen some beautiful Gucci, as you put it. Yeah, it's just all building. Like I said, I'm just getting into shape to start getting into shape. If that makes well, yeah, you of all people, you understand what that means, and they're still figuring things out. But that's part of why I work so hard to build everybody else up, and why I make sure to write down my style, so that if something impedes me, it isn't lost. That's you got to give back, and that's what I try to do every day, because you never know. For a while there, I wasn't sure how many of those, wasn't sure I was going to wake up. Jeez, $300 for a foil? That's Freedom Pez dispenser money. $300. Steve's making fun of me again. I can tell, because anytime I wince at money, Steve makes fun of me. But God, I bet it's sexy too. I will say this: I bet Leon. I'm the guy who hasn't bought himself a new mask in about 15 years. So yeah, it is my hope that by the end of quarantine, well, yeah, of course it's electric foil. It's the cool scoring system. I was tempted to go that route, and I can't bring myself to do it right now. Like, shoot, I haven't even. Freedom Pez dispensers. I am encouraging the creation of Freedom Pez dispensers. I'm honestly wondering if that won't be a line from somebody to make, Freedom Pez dispensers. Welcome to YouTube. I still have a patch coming, because where I live right. Okay, sorry about that. They are actually completely redoing the internet feed into my county. So cell phones are down off and on. Internet is down off and on. Hence my feed freezing up randomly and me having to wait. So I have it loading on my phone, which is not attached to my internet, but it all goes through the same towers, so you never know. Freedom whistle. You know what? I'm gonna say to Steve the choo-choo attachment, because I'm a train enthusiast, and he will know about the choo-choo attachment. But wow, this is a great video. Yeah, I'm at the I was looking at getting a starter set for strip fencing as a way of building up, and I realized I've neglected to build up my own gear that's worn out enough for what I do. Yeah, she does too. Choo-choo. But I may send the picture out again to the people who need to know what the train. Are you gonna come? Right now it's a matter of cost, and with everything that's going on, we've got some financial. But I want to. Honestly, I haven't been involved in a group where I'm just there to fight in so long. I don't know if I'm not a competitive guy, but there's the part of I do miss it, and I miss the fact I will always be a little chapped at the fact that I came in second in like 8 tourneys. You know what I mean? Compete. Yes, compete. But where I was referencing, unfortunately, was a little less civilized, and because of that, there were people who would not. We lacked the technology to enforce honor. We'll put it that way. Give the man the brass ring. Wow. Okay. Well, that side point to the commenter who just said that about somebody not getting something else. But yeah, yeah. I that game would be very different if they had electronic scoring. I will say that. Uh, but yeah, I came in second a lot, and sometimes maybe I shouldn't have. But I think it's better that I know I fought fair and did the right thing than some other people. Let me see. Whoop. I'm waiting. Oh, yeah. Sorry. John Miner, who's been following for some time, sent me a picture of the rapier on his wall that I am very, very well. Uh, yeah. Uh, acquainted with, and that rapier just brought me memory. It's life steal. I almost got misty. This is a real walk through my past tonight, folks, and some of the newer people have no idea what I'm talking about, and I'm sorry for that. But oh, by the way, if you haven't, please hit the like button. That's just me trying to keep the algorithms up, because what I'm supposed to be doing, although gosh, I'm having a wonderful time reminiscing with folks, is helping new people learn techniques free, because I have the silly idea that learning to fence, should it cost, classically fence, should it cost you buying DVDs that are $200 for the set? I think it's as much as I support people creating those things, I think the cost is a form of gatekeeping. I think the cost of gear is a form of gatekeeping. And anybody who knows me knows I have a chip on my shoulder the size of a board cube about gatekeeping people out of enjoyable things or things that can better them. So, I'm always championing the guys on the bottom. But yes. And no, honestly, it would be really interesting to see an electric setup, but it would violate the spirit of what they're doing. And once you've been awoken from a dream, you can't go back to that dream. But I will always admire to a certain level, and in my own way support the people who are allowed that dream. And that's odd, I suppose. But it's not like I do not hold the actions of the few. I do not hold the many responsible for the actions of the few, because it's not fair. But at the same time, there are things that happen. So you help people, and I think I've actually helped more people in the system from outside the system, because then I can help whoever I want to help. And that's cryptic and vaguely depressing, and we're not about that today. So we need something else. What do we need? Oh god, we need a mind. Yeah. I've told you guys, everybody should have these. Everybody should have these. Are you still persona non grata? For am I still persona non grata? I have been told by some I'm not, by some I am, and it would be opening up a bunch of stuff that, wow, yeah, opening up a bunch of stuff that I've moved past, and what happened was so outside of the norm that I'd have to not talk about it. Thank you, John. seriously, thank you. I'm getting a little hot in here. The trick of my house, it gets warm after like sunset, and I start to get cooked in this room. But yeah, we wow. I'm gonna check to see if we have any comments. Sorry, got a little. I still care. I no. No. Take what off? My shirt? No. Guys, I'm fat. No one wants to see that. I don't even want to see that. No. Happy things now. Happy things. Yes. Let's talk about what's coming down the pipe next week. Next week, hopefully, I will either have a mate made for this, a duplicate type thing, or if I can get the right parts, I would love to make a sword cane trainer. One of my great passions, something I've always wanted to make that I haven't found, is a fencing capable, whatever, sword cane trainer. Because I love sword canes. I have several, and they are not in reach right now. Oh, they are. They're over there. Well, here, 1 second. I'm still here. Since John's here. My favorite sword cane trainer. Well, sword cane. I don't carry this because it belongs to my buddy Jesse, who passed. And we're trying to be happy, but he was gosh, if he wasn't a happy man. So, I love sword canes. I have looked, and please, if somebody on the market finds somebody making a sword cane, I have written Lynn Thompson personally about this. If you see a sword cane trainer, if you see somebody who's made like the equivalent of a polypropylene sword cane that could be bought, yeah, this the foot is stuck in something. I have to get the foot, but yeah, this is one of my prized possessions, and yeah, it takes me back, but I want to take a foil blade and make a sword cane out of it, and because I haven't found a way to do it. Possibly a rapier blade, but that it would be just because of the cross section. It would be very simple to get something that I could the right kind of pipe, but it has to be comfortable. It has to be quality. I have to do it right because if you're going to do something that's that long-standing a passion, you do it right. So I'm going to be making some more riggings. As time progresses, I will be buying more blades as I get money to make riggings, and then I may even sell some of those blades. I haven't quite figured that out yet. I will be looking. Okay. We have a storm front coming in, and I know it because all the old brakes kick in. And sorry, wow. This has just been an interesting evening, folks. You power through them. Anybody can come out here and blabber when everything feels right. Another blast from the past, because a couple people are asking. My first buckler as given to me by Dennis Yakos. Now that's a tiny, even I admit this is a tiny, tiny buckler. But you know what? We can make it work. And these two actually pair pretty well. So I might actually try that when I get the rigging finalized and somebody to fence with. We're seeing if Mandy can be up to it or not. No pressure though. She does not respond to pressure, so don't try to pressure her. Wow, guys. I'm getting some really great comments. John Miner sent me some great daggers. Steve sent me other things that are loading and may or may not be shareable. Well, yeah, of course you want to punch with that. This is a EDC buckler, okay? I love talking about the middle, early period because people lose track. That's great because I actually have a rigging. This and this were a unit before they developed fancy riggings. A very minimalist sword, and you would cover your hand, keeping your middle road closed with a small buckler. Very Fiore. It's an interesting evolution of weapons. And you could even take a dagger and kind of make this a pseudo targe. There are options here. Really neat way to close. Let me see. This is the early period, like, what is it? The I-88 fencing manual, fighting manual, shows using a buckler to protect the unguarded sides of the hand. I'm always torn on swords because I believe that they improved largely as they evolved. And the style that evolved with them improved to match. We love options too. Options are great. Oh, after you make that sword cane, go big and make the... Oh, okay, that would take a switchblade in the bottom, essentially. Oh. Sorry, I saw the notice that my net dropped. But answering Al's thing, after you make a sword cane, go big. I need a spring-loaded blade. If I remember right, that one has the mini sight almost in the bottom of the cane sheath. It's not undoable. I actually years ago made a design that was for a sword cane that would be a little more protective when used, and I might try to make that too. I would love to make that go. That would be probably the dead sexiest thing I've ever pulled off. But I don't want to talk about it too much online till I do it because I don't want people to steal the idea. And thank you for the likes, guys. My net keeps cutting in and out. I'm sorry. If you want to have... If I give this idea the rough description, because it's actually relatively simple to do, it will make a lot of money. Yeah, John. The idea, anytime Mandy gets near a pole arm, it's a beautiful thing. She's still, one of the best people I've ever seen fight with a glaive. She doesn't believe it because she doesn't think she's pretty, and doesn't think, the style is pretty. I actually got a really interesting conversation today on that subject because they were talking, and let's see, it was Gildies, who, I believe it was Eris Cole. Eris, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name, especially 2.5 hours into a live stream without anything to drink. Yeah, that's not happening. And I mean wet, like beverage, not alcoholic. You guys all know I'm a teetotaler. But Trelena Bachman had shared a beautiful cut from the Zorro movie. I think Mask Zorro Marco Zorro with Antonio and Anthony Hopkins. And that scene where Antonio goes, whoa, and then Anthony just pops and disarms him. It's like, and discussion of intimidation being a beautiful thing, and it's there. But I really believe beauty is achieved when you have a subject and adding or taking away from it would diminish it. Okay? That no change in color could make it any better. No making it bigger, smaller. No changing in it would make it better. And it's an efficient, elegant form of beauty. It's what people who think everything needs to be gold and gilded and excessively dramatic all the way, and it's so much your brain can't process it, don't get. So in a fighting style, to me personally, and I can see the flow and I can see the beauty, but at the same time, I will always, and again, be drawn to an efficient. When you see there are a lot of athletes and there are a lot of martial artists. There are quite a few martial artists who aren't athletes, and there are quite a few people who picked up styles that have remnants of things that are left over, of motions that they may not understand why that motion is in the kata or what they're doing. But when you see somebody who understands and only does the minimum effective version of their style, that could be something as dramatic as an axe, or as silly as, you know, just a subtle thrust with a rapier. It's what it's the precision and a, a soloist, the melody, the smoothness is a very different musician than somebody who's entangled in an orchestra. They fight different. They fight different. Music and swordplay are very, very tied. And for somebody who's not classically musically trained, I always keep coming back to that as I try to teach myself. But yeah, you did, John. You and she have a long history. But yeah, I think, and that's part of the problem I have with a lot of the people who fixate on styles. Um, a long sword, in my opinion, works better as part of a symphony. A long sword is a weapon of war. I'm sorry, great sword, not a long sword. A great sword is a weapon of war, and it operates better because it's heavy, it's bulky, but it does really neat stuff when it's deployed with support, and the fighting style works with it. A shield wall is a very different creature than a single shieldman. So the shield for that purpose is different. Now, personally, because my experience in life has, when I've dealt with physical conflict, has been unsupported, one versus many, the mentality is different. And it really is a mentality of defense. So when I see fighting, I think you have to do it yourself. You don't have somebody else to rely on. And I do teach, and if you look, we do group tactics, and they're very different. A lot of the flourishes go away because a lot of the fencing manuals, for dueling, and you want to cheese me. John knows. Well, we're going to do. No. Weapons defense. Yes. What Al's referencing is when we have big groups, one thing I like to do is put one person versus everybody else. Why? How everybody else works together, how they can handle manipulating a group. Because melee combat is radically different than single. And if you don't flourish, did you even really fence? That depends on the purpose. If it is a demonstration bout, okay? And it's funny because Al just, ironically, you're the perfect foil for this conversation, Al. I love the showiness. It's beautiful. But there's also if you're carrying a sword for a duel, understanding that's one thing. But there was a secondary style of I'm carrying this the same way a lot of Americans carry a Glock in a side holster. Okay, the sword hanging at their hip, the dagger or whatever was in case of bad guys. My life is being threatened. Wow, sorry, I got commentary. Anyway, uh, the defensive fighting. When I say defense, I mean what we would consider real world survivalist self defense fighting. You get quiet because you're not wasting air. Unless you can call for help, then by all means call for help. But once you get to the fighting, just shut down. Do the job. Get it done. No flourishing. I am always impressed by the person who can wait minimal, move only when they need to because they know your range. Move only as far as they need to. Attack minimal. Efficiency. Why? Because there's always another 7-letter word for jerk. Okay? And I teach that. And I teach, always approach a fight from a melee perspective. If I'm wasting a lot of time, this is why I don't like long lunges. And Al's like, well, just get good, recover. And that works if you have those knee things. Exactly. And the great sword thing has come from an ironic point of discussion, John. Uh, One thing I keep hearing is the long sword, which is not a great sword, but perilously close. The two-handed, you know, long sword is a great weapon. But what was coming was the people were talking about like D&D. They're talking about different people. And it always distills down for many people that they just need a long sword. Better reach. They're more agile. And they are more agile than people think. But I personally believe if you're going adventuring, you carry something like this because you can swing it anywhere. I can walk through my whole house and defend myself in the equivalent of a sword fight or, person on person, whatever. Knife wielding maniacs really don't bother me that much in a concept. When, if I have something equivalent. And an adventure is going to be in tight areas. They're going to be complicated. You can't just rely on a weapon that won't fit. This is why hangers and cutlasses of this length were popular with naval professionals, be them pirates or sailors or Marines of the, for boarding and stuff during the golden age of pirates, because you had to be able to defend yourself both on deck and below decks. So cramped quarters, CQB, I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic and I love to throw those letters around. CQB fighting was a period thing. And they needed to be able to fight with it. Love my cutlass. Oh, yes. And your cutlass is beautiful. This is a wonderful power, simple. The reach is at about 24 inches is about perfect for what you can manage indoors. You can knuckle dust your way through. Your hand is heavily protected, but the half guard means you can actually wear it comfortably. Because shockingly, when you have to carry your weapon of defense around every day, all the time, it gets heavy, it gets bothersome, and it gets problematic. So you want something like this. Hi! Okay, cool. Ryan Coker. Off in the Woods is Ryan Coker. He's the wonderful Meyer practitioner. And you know what? You are correct. You are absolutely correct that a long sword may be short-shanked and used like a short spear in close quarters, provided you can draw it. And you can use a modified rapier draw on a longsword to make it effective. But I think when you're reduced, if you have to reduce a weapon to specific extra stance technique like that to make it work in a setting, it may be time to rethink it. And I will never think that a longsword is the most practical all in all weapon, because you can find out real easy historically the most practical all in all edged weapon in warfare. Last and longest was a single handed saber. The last production sword was, I believe, designed by General Patton. And I don't. Okay, sorry about that. My connection fuzzed out again. The last production sword that I recall, and I could be wrong, was developed by General Patton, and for a guarded military non-ceremonial sword. That being said, worldwide, what is the most common sword? That's easy. The machete. A roughly 2 to 3 foot long hacking blade, usually with a knuckle guard. Not always, the knuckle guard comes and goes, but you're going to find that length for production, for carry, for use, both as a tool and a weapon, that's where it's going to live. Now, I was sworn that last military edition for combat in mind was British 1912 cavalry. And that's the thing, the style, good point. The styles evolve to match the weaponry. And it's interesting because you have a lot of swordsmen, sword lovers, people, enthusiasts of sword, I think I'm looking for, love they love things, but they hate. Oh, is that what happened? Patton sword was developed later but never used. I knew he was involved in designing the sword because I have a historical love-hate relationship with Patton, in that brilliant tactician, marvelous if narcissistic general, but really chewed through his men. Talking to people involved, I think I'm more of a MacArthur guy, but you gotta give Patton his massive props, and I always will. But I knew that he had designed a sword. I didn't know it didn't go. That's why I don't usually. Let's see. We've got commentary. I've been requested to draw a dragonborn riding a camel. This is not my art channel, but I'm gonna need to know. Do you mean a dragonborn as in a humanoid dragonkin? Or do you mean a dragonborn like Fusroda? So get back to me if you're watching, and if not, why aren't you? And I'll check the messages. I get strange things, guys. Sorry. But yeah, it is interesting to see the evolution. And like I said, what's interesting to see and isn't discussed, period manuals only talk often about the sword fighting because they assume grappling and a few other hand-to-hand style fightings. And there are exceptions, but largely they don't cover that because that was considered general knowledge. And I really would like to see more by the time the sword was produced, World War II had moved. Now, see, that's it. World War I is interesting because in World War I, both the band, if you look at the amount of training that officers went through in cavalry charges, 4 cavalry charges versus what was used, and bayonet training versus what was used, it gets real interesting because before the war they really expected that. They expected the sword to still be a major player, and they expected the bayonet to be used more often. The bayonet still is used. So basic short spear drills, okay? The short spear as a tool has been in use in combat as an option for literally as long as humanity has tracked time. How's that for relevance? Like, because if you think of what a bayonet is, and a bayonet is just, I don't have my normal knife trainer. I wonder where that thing went. Anyway, so basically, this and this being a rifle make love and produce a fixed bayonet rifle. Yes, this is longer than modern bayonet rigs, which are oftentimes only about yay long. But my point, the action of a basic thrust is still really, as of 2010, bayonet is no BCT. Now, is that for all branches? Because I would be, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the. I assume BCT to be basic combat training, but is that all branches? Because I don't. I would be genuinely shocked if the Marines weren't still doing bayonet drills, and Army. See, that's it. Because I know the British did a bayonet charge in Afghanistan really relatively recently. Big deal because they killed like 20 people with fixed bayonets. It shocked a lot of Afghanis that they still do it. And yeah, and that might be a stylistic thing. Actually, I think militarily, this is an interesting thing to bring up. There is a growing focus on underground combat. Look it up. I was just doing some studies into it, and they were talking about basically tunnel clearing and non-destructive tunnel clearing. You know, the whole how are they going into underground facilities and fighting without just lobbing grenades and blowing people up and stuff. So there's a whole new. I would not be surprised to see some variant of bayonet coming back out of that, just because that level of bizarre close quarters fighting might make for some interesting tactical and strategy designs. And John Miner sent me some pictures of his beautiful riggings. And yeah, I remember them. They hurt. I miss them. But I miss fencing. That's interesting. That's something to try. Now, knife training is still going on, I would imagine. Or because I know there's been a large shift to between modified entrenchment tools, and we're not talking just America, internationally, and that resurgence in tomahawks becoming popular was a thing for a while. I don't know if that's still as assisted entry tools or whatever they're calling it now. I'm curious to see how axe fighting works. Remember, the Filipino Marines are still Gaul. They're not swords. They're not swords because for Marines, calling a sword versus a knife is a really big deal. But the Jintang Screama-based system is still being taught to Filipino station Marines? It was last time I checked. But again, it's been a couple of years since I've done a big public thing. Like I haven't. Last time I was looking at McMap was still pretty new, and a few other things that I think there's a new system. They're used as a symbol. See, it's interesting. And there's also a difference in the equipment of standard troops versus what's being popularized both by special forces, and by contractors. Contractors are leaning towards a very different set of loadouts, and I need to look into that just because I find it interesting. Because for me, historical fencing, the use of a cold steel historical blade, anything from a knife to a sword to an axe to a karambit, is still part of history. Now, what's the symbology of tomahawks? How is that relevant to the Afghan culture? Or I'm just curious, but because I'd like to know. Yeah, Steve, I may have lost track of the comment, but I know Steve is talking about contractors carrying better stuff than military grade because they don't have to buy from the lowest bidder. That's not necessarily a debate I'm wading in on, but it is in a lot of Pastel villages. Okay. That's where. Okay. Ah. That's respectable. No, that see things like that interest me because like a lot of my historical stuff leads on the Vietnam War, obviously with my family and upbringing. Uh, I know like shotguns were feared because the Vietnamese believed you went to heaven in the condition you died in. Now, see that makes sense because a lot of swords still pour out of Pakistan, especially for us poor sword buyers. And that gets interesting. To I talked in an earlier video about the Western, frankly, demonization of curved swords, largely stemming from the Crusades, and curved swords being favored by less armored populations during the Middle Ages, because stylistically it was very, very effective to slice somebody up with a curved sword versus trying to do some of the same maneuvers with a straight sword. And because the mechanics were foreign, in many cases they were almost deemed sorcerous. Fascinating stuff, guys. This is the good stuff. This really is the good stuff. And John Miner is sending me more pictures of his relevant weapons. But as they load up, the R3, that takes me back. But yeah, see, this is part of what I find fascinating. Blade culture still exists today, and I think now this might seem a little odd, but bit of current events as laws pass. There's a potential of a change in the legality of firearms for self-defense again in America. And while they will always be tactically superior, there may be a resurgence of looking into melee weapons as self-defense items due to legality issues. And it'll be interesting to see what people are drawn to, aside from the katana, because it is the most popular sword. It's not a bad sword. It's popular for a reason. I'm not anti-katana. I dabbled in some stuff, as John well knows. But I think it's a bastard sword with a really good PR campaign right now. So yeah, uh, fascinating. Nearly. I prefer crossguard, but I also understand the problem I have with katanas. Okay, and that's actually just in case you ever referencing stuff in my book. We're gonna get past agricultural weapons for a second. We're gonna get past the two-handed swords. We're gonna have. I'm sure. Where is it? It's around here. There you go. Ah, sorry, John. Uh, they're rebuilding my net. I'm doing the best I can, and it might be cutting out on your end too. Oh god, John, you have some of the prettiest rapiers I know. I still, I miss a certain grade of fencing. I don't miss a lot of things, but I'll admit it. I miss like Day of the Dragon. I do miss Day of the Dragon. That was my favorite event of the year, and I do honestly miss it. But yeah, we're talking. In case we lost you, John, we've been going over some modern historical. Yeah, that works. Bladed weapons, what's still being used, where it's being used. We were talking about the tomahawks as a symbol in eastern Afghanistan. Things like that are fascinating. So, what weapons do you think are going beyond firearms? Although the symbology of firearms impresses me. What melee weapons do you think still will have, if any, uh, effect on the American psyche? What things are we going? Do you think the American people will see and go, yeah, that's us. That resonates, or are we forever going to be entangled in firearms as identity? It says lost your feed. Um, YouTube is still saying we're live, so I don't know if we're actually live or not. We lost some commentary, and I've lost some stuff over here. So, well, I've been on for 3 hours. Oh, okay, I am live. Thank you, because I was starting to wonder. Uh, okay, you're still good. Good. The Bowie. Now that's interesting. The Bowie and the Tomahawk are very uniquely American weapons. Do you still think they hold a place in the psyche? Thank you, guys, because I know for us older generations they do, but they really haven't. I don't know. I think Game of Thrones may have done a lot to bring back more European, largely weapon systems to people's vernacular, to their eyes. I have not watched Game of Thrones. I will admit this, largely because I have one television and a young child who is not Game of Thrones compatible. But what I have seen, because people have sent me the water dance sequences, I've seen a couple like Arya's fight, a couple of the other fights. Uh, there's some room for classical swords to start coming back. I think Lord of the Rings brought the longsword really back to the populace. But I'm trying to think of the last fencing movie that came out that resonated with anybody. I enjoyed the was it the Guy Ritchie version of the Musketeers, Three Musketeers, uh, because that was a remake of the British version of the Three Musketeers, which is dramatically different because they didn't want the Brits to be bad guys. You know what? I completely agree with you, Ryan. Ryan, under the handle off in the woods. A lot of very early American sword work was focused on small sword, and I think modern American culture is really dismissive of those those cool weapons. Uh, I agree enough that I'm trying to make foils to to emulate small swords for the people who uh, are interested, myself included. I'm quite fond of small swords as a style, especially because they fit my personal strengths and weaknesses as well. I've heard great things about the BBC Musketeers. I have absolutely thank you, Rex, and I would love to see that at some point. It just I haven't been able to. But well, this might sound ironic, but the lightsaber, while a totally fictional weapon, there are groups popping up all over the place trying to use them, and I've actually had some push that I need to get at least a few combat sabers because the style is popular and you can train it out in public without getting the police called on you as a terrorist organization. But if you want to talk the absolute epitome of oh, that's awesome. Absolute epitome of what I am normally against. The most lightsaber fighting is dramatic. If only they used them right. Hey, Form 2 Makashi. Dooku had it right with lightsabers. I'm going to say it. Dooku had it right. Watch him in Clone Wars. Watch him in the Clone Wars animated series. The orthopedic grip worked, and Christopher Lee said if the movie had been made 20 years earlier, he would have won. The script was he would have won. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I have. I've actually seen the French Federation do lightsaber, and it's one of those I've been watching a bit. I have pulling ancient geek cred out. There's a YouTuber by the name of Sword Sage, aka my buddy Marco, and we go way back. And part of why we went back was a lengthy expanded universe site. Yeah, I was involved in that quite a bit in college. Boy, I'm such a geek. But yeah, I am intrigued. I am intrigued by it, and years ago I had a plan to do my Defense Against the Dark Side video. Al, if you ever do FI competitions in France, you are repping us beyond well, and you know it. I am so proud of you. And I'm not going to share background that isn't mine to share, but where you went before, what you went through, and where you are now impresses the living hell out of me. Pardon my French, but you just keep doing it, man. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud you're my friend, and I'm proud to see the work you went into. And we got a long history on that front, and I'm still sorry about what I'm sorry about. Guys wear masks when you fence. We'll just leave it at that. But wow. I know, but I would never take somebody's awesome story. And part of it really was shit. Back many, 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 many years ago, yes, I genuinely feel bad about that, Al. So now I got to tell the story. Okay, I'm going to tell the story of Al the Ninja. Way years and years and years ago, back at the Blue House, back in still in college or right after, I some buddies of mine mentioned there's this guy. Okay, his name's Al. He's awesome. I love awesome people, but he's a ninja. And I was told honestly that you had studied at some kind of ninja camp, and like, my connection is unstable. Okay, I'm back. My connection got funky, but I'd been told this guy studied at a ninja camp. He's just unbelievably good and crazy, like literal secret martial arts. And I was hyped. But yeah, no, they were like, dude, he's unstoppable. I'm like, so you're saying, like, no, not like, oh, I'm a ninja, like literal ninja. Cool. I want to fight him. And I had to pause because my thing was buffering and I can't tell if I'm actually here or not. But so back then, in my extreme poverty, unlike my now established balanced poverty, we were fighting with PVC, half-inch PVC trainers. Okay. Problem with half-inch PVC trainers is there's no flex. Anyhow, he comes out, meet him. He's Al. Al is one of those likable, charismatic people. It's almost annoying. Anyway, he's like, we square off in the garage. He moves and then does this like straight rush. Well, I was throwing a shot. I caught Al like right in the mouth and I busted up these two teeth. And I felt so bad because it was just one of those reflexive, a lot of bouts, guys, with a sword. People don't want to talk about. Yeah, you know what? I admire that you can admit that that to some people you're straight up annoying, and that's okay. Not everybody gets everybody. Trust me, I got set on fire because people didn't like me. You know, you got to be you. And you're back. Welcome back, John. But so Al rushed me first time we met, like first time we bout, and I just blasted him in the face and knocked out part of his teeth. And I felt terrible. And we're still friends. I mean, wow. You know what? It's funny because I'm going to tell you about the first time I fought Steve, Al. You might not know this. First time I actually got to fight Steve, to spar at all, and I use fight loosely. What did you have? I think Steve had a Shinai, and I didn't at the time have anything even close to two-handed. And Jack was actually there, and he said, "Here, use my walking stick." And Jack's walking stick was this rat-tailed monstrosity. But and I had tried to staff with it a bit, and it was just too flimsy up top. And we're going, and I go, okay, hold, and maybe he didn't quite catch that hold meant stop. Plastered my bad knee. Right? I mean, it was a beautiful shot to the knee. Plastered it. And I remember looking at him like, okay. And I took the sword up and I went high center guard. And I watched Steve, the quarterstaff, as soon as his guard opened up, to this day I swear the clouds parted and the sun just beamed down on him. And I smoked right here. Just the most, if you were to think the most generic quarterstaff, not quarterstaff, I saw quarterstaff, generic kendo strike, just pop, popped him. I mean, like right here, and I reset back. And I admit I was mildly annoyed because he plastered my bad knee after a hold, which I thought was a dick move. And we're friends now, but yeah, at that moment I was like, I don't know you that well. It feels like you're doing that whole, okay, I'm gonna go beat on the guy to, whatever. We're good now, but blast him. Mandy's all happy because she's behind me trying to find like her gear. She wants to fight him. She's got a glaive, and I'm gonna fight Steve, and we're getting fun. He gets a smile. He's like, "You hit me," and I'm like, "Yeah." And he gets this big grin, and it's like, "Oh, he really wanted somebody to fight him." But no, it's. I don't know if you can still see me. We're reconnecting. Okay, we're back. Yeah, I know. I got no beef, Steve. It was a short thing. These things happen. But I smite. And what I didn't know was this quarterstaff had a crack that ran just above where I gripped. So it got that pinch blow and it opened up his forehead. So a forehead wound will bleed like a stuck pig. And he's just got this stream of blood running down his face. I'm like, oh God, I'm so sorry. What do I hear from him? Man, damn it, Nick, you broke him. I didn't even get to play with him yet. And I realized some of my favorite friends, I have these stories where like accidental mutual beatings have occurred. But yeah, it's really funny how the first bout of both you guys ended up with facial wounds because both times I'm like, okay, we'll play and we'll be safe. And this is why I make folks wear masks. Wear a mask. It's dangerous, But yeah, so on my first bout with Al, oh man. Not usually. Usually they hurt me. That's the weird thing. Usually they it's like Bob broke my elbow. I didn't realize it with a great sword. And then he hadn't seen me fight Staff. And I fought Staff and annoyed him because he had some issues with the cup rule. I am much more gentle. I am much more gentle. That was youth and inexperience. Really was. I try. People are gonna think I'm this brute now, which is funny because anything but an alpha male personality, I'm incredibly gentle with. But yeah, I had bursitis of the elbow because he actually tipped the chip off through an armor padded sweater out, extra padded elbows and stuff. Just blasted it with a montante because my guard slipped a little bit. And I'll admit it, I chicken winged, but I didn't know that right away, and that was bad. I got bursitis of the elbow and a bone spur and all this other stuff. You were young and you were assertive. And the problem was, looking back, I could step back, and what it was this is why I think you like fencing with clear right of way. You lunged onto an oncoming sword. Because I've replayed that bout way too many times in my mind to try to never have it happen again. And got better. I think things got better. And honestly, you are a devastating fencer. And I don't know how much of it was you never wanting that to happen again either. But sometimes that happens. I don't know. I genuinely feel bad about that. Steve and I felt bad because for a while there, I've only had 3 injuries. You gotta earn the damn sure. Oh, I am 3 hours into this, and that is the funniest thing I think I've read in years. You gotta earn the right to attack Nick. Woo! Oh God, you're right. I know. Right of way. In my defense, though, at that point, when my blade was leading. Anyhow, I just take Matt out. Steve, I'm going to say this delightfully, just to be clear. You showed up at practice several times before you actually sparred. And the running joke is you would come, stand by Rachel, lift your leg, mock piss on her to mark her as yours, and leave. So you had laid the groundwork for what was going to be a colorful bout anyway. I am sorry you drew that blood was drawn, and that was a faultiness of the equipment. But I don't regret the shot because that was beautiful. That's one of those you got to have a few shots in life when you've thrown it and you just realize how gorgeous it is going in, doing what needs to, and coming back out. And we got 7 viewers, folks. Thank you. Mash that like button. Well, we had 7 viewers. As soon as I say we have so many viewers, somebody always leaves. So I need to shut up about that. But whew. This is why I've learned that we have to be very safe, and I've been trying to find the right gear because I think I've made every mistake that a backyard sword master can make. Learned a lot, done a lot. School of Hard Knocks, you know. And I'm thankful for the folks who stuck around through this. My gosh. I'm gonna say this. I miss fighting. I miss the fact that I love doing these live streams, but guys, I can't wait for when it is safe, and I won't do it earlier. I'm gonna tell you, it'll be at least 2 weeks after everything gets lifted before I even think about doing something like practices back up, because I will not endanger your lives for my amusement. I want to endanger my lives for because of where I am, we would be vectors, and that's me forcibly being mature. But God, do I miss it. I miss fighting you, and I miss hanging out, and I miss eating things cooked over fire while telling bad jokes and listening to good music. And that's across all the groups. But better days are coming. And while we are in this period of difficulty, while we are in this period of isolation, each one of us has an opportunity to try to do something with ourselves that we wouldn't have done otherwise. We have a chance to grow, to develop, to create. I'm encouraging all of you to find whatever that is and grab it with both hands, because everybody I know, certainly everybody who follows this, has a creative outlet that they neglect out of necessity, or a dream they're not doing because it's not practical because of time. And videos and games. Yeah, I miss videos and games. I miss movie nights. I miss playing Call of Duty so badly that I managed to headshot myself as the computer lags and then swear prodigiously. I try to keep it clean on YouTube to the point that it makes me stutter worse than normal. But Steve can attest that the rants that come out of me when I am gaming badly are both cathartic and hilarious. And maybe someday I will publish a book of my rants. Steve's been trying to get me to do that because they're literally that colorful when I get on the topic I'm passionate about. But that would make you famous. Well, I figure the day Lewis Black dies, somebody's going to have to take up the mantle of America's biggest. Anyway. But you do. I should use something like that as my thumbnail. Because you think that's a joke expression? Nah. I go full Renaissance painting rage. You know, the full, like, hair ripping, like, almost audible screaming in silence. The catharsis that is video games. Yeah. It's funny, I'm totally mellow about sword fighting. Like, you go out and, I lose, I don't mind. But, like, lag makes me hate. I looked back in the sideways ocean that is my tarp, and this ceiling fan is delightful. Wow. It is going on 11:30. I have been at this conversation for going on 3.5 hours. I also have chocolate cake waiting, theoretically. And while I'm trying to get in shape, it is chocolate cake. But, so I'm going to have to get ready to go soon. But before I do, I want to put my stuff because I should. If you like this, please like, share, subscribe. If you want to help me keep the lights on, you've come close, John. There were some. Okay, I was gonna leave, but John said, "I ain't never beat you like a baby seal." Ah, that's not entirely true. Others, yes. Nick, no. That's true. You've not beaten me like. But I will tell you this. John was John knew my wife before she was my wife. They were involved in something called an SCA household. And while that all went colossally, there was a lot of familial bond there. And being at the time a slip of a guy, I think I was barely 150 pounds. I might have, because I graduated at 125. I graduated high school at 125. And I was about 135, 150 pounds, somewhere in that spread, when I first met John Myers. Now, mind you, I'm 6'6". I gained an inch in college to my mighty 6'7", depending which leg you measure off of. John's 6'2", 6'3". We're not going to talk weight, but Hagrid. At the time, a guy named Mikey Pantinas was around, and Mikey was short but stout. And, I used to jokingly call him the armored weeble because they wobble but they don't fall down. Big, stout, big guy. Another big guy, and and Dale, who's an ex-cop and a bunch of other things, weren't quite sure about this new guy flirting up their cis daughter kind of thing. So I had to do a bit of hazing where they did their level best to be intimidating, and lesser men would have fled. But John and I had some colorful boffer bouts, and we had some you did a draw cut that launched me all the way across a trailer park platform. Like, launched me into the air with a legal draw cut. Okay, it wasn't impact, it was penetration. So he was able to take a sword, set it against me, and slice. Okay? I get where you want, right? With enough contained force because some idiot taught John Minor Korean power arts and Tai Chi. And I say idiot because that was what? But I fear that person because anybody who could teach these two things to John Minor is a terrifying person, and I hear they're like this tall. But so yes, he did throwing me across, and I had to deal with a lot of colorful things while I was getting to know my my now wife of many years. And so yeah, there were we had some colorful bouts. The Why Nick Didn't Heavy Fight bout that was held in Frank's dad's garage in Westville, involving going over the line. Now that was partially Sabah's fault, but yeah, glory days of talking at you guys. If you like what I'm doing and you feel it in your heart, consider becoming the Patreon members. There isn't much because I give everything as free. That's what I'm about, is trying to put it out there that I can give the patrons. But I'll try. I mean, you guys to get my Galacticino recipe because that was requested offline. But my book, The Simple Sword, is available through Amazon. Please consider buying it. Next week, let's talk about next week because I got 2 minutes. I will be hopefully showcasing the new changes in the foils. I skipped over cloaks this week because I couldn't find fencing cloaks, so I will talk over the 2 types of cloak fencing. We'll get back into that. We'll talk about opposing more styles, like fighting against a staff, fighting against agricultural weapons, because I'd love to get into sickles. We actually had an extensive period of sickle fighting for a while, and the sickle fighting was very, 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 very popular. A lot of people like the sickle fighting. So we're going to see. We might get into that. Let me look. I'm going to pull out the book for a second. If there's anything else you guys want covered, because we're getting to the end of the book. As from our skimming, we can talk about scenario play. Let's see, what am I missing? Axes! Did I talk about axes in the battlefield? Oh no, we'll get into mass weapons and axes maybe. So we have these options because agricultural weapons in the battlefield are always fascinating to me. Making a Dusick is on my bucket list. I just have to put the forge together and then get the metal to do it because I'm going to bang out at least a Dusick. Improvised weapons. You want improvised weapons? We can do improvised weapons. Now, what level of improvised weapons are you wanting? Are you wanting the how to assess where you are to use what's around you for self-defense if it's not actually a weapon? Or do you want to talk about like prison shanks and clubbery or all of that as a thing? What you got there, Steve? You see what? Oh, got a message there. 5 foot. 5 foot. Well, he's got my messenger, so he can message me. I think he probably will. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm behind on the messages. My phone lagged. I'm having issues. Video feed, weapon choice is personal if you trans. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, John. Okay. I'm getting a bunch of messages that my feed. Oh God, I said I'm 5'7". I was 5'6". I gained up to 5'7". Yeah, I'm getting dyslexic bad. My feed is cutting out, and I've been on for over 3.5 hours. So, because I still have to try to get this to process before I can sleep comfortably, I'm going to let you guys go. I will see you all next week. Pardon me for any errors I made at the end. Yeah, I get what you're doing. Maybe improvised weapons will be the primary, because my book stuff can always come up when we don't know what to talk about. Please, if you haven't like this, share this, subscribe to the channel. I am doing a video every week. I'm hoping it won't be this long next week. But you guys really kept me talking. Thank you so much. I want to thank Rex Allen Hood. I want to thank Steve Clausen. I want to thank John Miner for the wonderful commentary. Massive thanks to Steve Agosto and the ever lovely Ren Contessa, because you guys are what keep the lights on. And Nemo Smith, even if you aren't anymore, I still appreciate what you've done over the years. So thank you guys. Anybody I forgot, I apologize. And you know what? Support your local swordmaster.